reconvene. Mr. Ray, can you read us out of close, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Roanoke County School Board come out of closed session for the following: to discuss ongoing personnel matters under investigation pursuant to the personnel exemptions at 2.2-37118A1 of the Code of Virginia, and for consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members pertaining to actual or probable litigation, and consultation with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel pursuant to 2.2-37118A7 of the Code of Virginia, and also move to certify that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements under this chapter and only subject public business matters were identified in the motion by which the closed session was convened, were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the school board.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Linden?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Johnny?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ray?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Greenway?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes, ma'am. We have no action from closed. So welcome, everybody, to our Thursday, July 27, 2023 Roanoke County School Board meeting. If I can have everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance. All right, item 4.01, announcement of changes in the agenda. I believe there are no announcements of change.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the agenda be approved as presented.
Second?
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Linden?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Johnny?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ray?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Greenway?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes, ma'am. Item 5.01, introduction of new administrators for 2023-2024. Ms. Jody Lee Etzel.
Come on up.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, school board members, Dr. Nicely. It is my great pleasure, because Mr. Bradshaw's in a conference, that I get to do this tonight and introduce the new administrators that we have for the upcoming school year. We are super excited because I know they're going to do a great job. So let me introduce to you Evan Knoll. He is going to be the new principal at William Byrd Middle School. Abby Barnes is going to be the new assistant principal at William Byrd Middle School. Matthew, obviously you can tell, Galker is going to be the new assistant principal at Glen Cove Elementary School. Crystal Bondurant is going to be the new assistant principal at Mount Pleasant and Fort Lewis Elementary. And Heather Everhart is going to be the new assistant principal at W.E. Cundiff. So here they are.
Congratulations to each of you. Can we take a picture? Shake your hand.
Does my mark show? All right, here we are. We'll take it.
Item 5.02, presentation of the CPR Anytime Kits. Mr. Tommy McGuire, Health PE teacher at Cave Spring High School.
Good evening, and thank you to the school board for having us here tonight. I would like to introduce Paula Wallace and Christy Steele Garcia with the American Heart Association. The American Heart Association supports our school, division, and community in many different ways, and we're excited to continue our partnership with them in the future. They have some special guests tonight that they would like to honor for the extraordinary efforts in supporting our students and school communities.
Thank you so much for having us here tonight and letting us share our mission to see a world of longer, healthier lives. We're able to accomplish that mission because of people standing here with us today. Chad Norris and his son Seth, who are here on behalf of House Motor Freight, who sponsored the 2023 Heart Ball in Roanoke, which is, as many of you know, a wonderful event. But beyond just a wonderful event, sponsorship of the American Heart Association here in Roanoke allows us to be able to make impact right here in our community. And one of the things that we were able to do through their donation is donate CPR Anytime kits to Roanoke County Public Schools, which is right here, which help you all and help teachers and PE staff train people on how to do effective hands-only CPR. So we are so grateful to them for their life-saving gift. We know that it will go a long way to help people. So without further ado, here is a certificate of our appreciation from the American Heart Association.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Now I'm going to let Paula talk about her work within the schools.
Good evening, School Board and Dr. Nicely. Thank you so much for having us here again this year. I got to see you guys last year and visit with you a little. So I just want to quickly give a thank you for your support, the district's support, and share out that we are so proud that we had 12 schools participating in our Kids Heart Challenge and American Heart Challenge program this year. So that program goes on to continue this community level education in heart health and hands-only CPR. So I want to give a thank you to Cave Spring Elementary, Back Creek Elementary, Glenver Elementary, Fort Lewis Elementary, Penn Forest Elementary, Green Valley Elementary, Bonsack Elementary, Mount Pleasant Elementary, Mountain View Elementary, Glen Cove Elementary, Herman Horn Elementary, W.E. Cundiff Elementary, and Cave Spring High School. So those are our 13 schools that participated, and a special recognition to 6 of them who have earned a top 25 distinction among Central and Southwest Virginia schools, so out of about 80 schools. So these schools include Cave Spring Elementary, Glenver Elementary, Penn Forest Elementary, Bonsack Elementary, Mountain View Elementary, and Herman Horn Elementary. And then I have a special recognition, so I'd like to call up Principal Poff and Ms. Strawn, if you guys want to come on up. So Cave Spring Elementary not only has earned the distinction as #1 in Central and Southwest Virginia, but among all of the schools that participated throughout the state of Virginia, they are #4 in the state of Virginia. So let's give them a round of applause for that. And I have a certificate. So this is a Heart of Gold Top School Certificate, and so I'm going to present this to them, and certainly I appreciate Principal Poff, your support, your administrator support, and of course Ms. Strawn, because the success of Kids Heart Challenge at Cave Spring Elementary certainly is all about Ms. Strawn, and she does a beautiful job engaging her SCA. And if you ever get the chance just to stop by and see her with her kids and see her students in action, you really should. It'll restore your faith in humanity and just give you all the warm and bubbly feelings. I love it every time I go there. So sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, personally, and on behalf of the American Heart Association, thank you for all you do. And then I have one last thing before I turn it over to Tommy. About Roanoke County Schools, you all and your support. There were 21 participating school districts this year in Central and Southwest Virginia, and Roanoke County Schools, you all are #1 throughout Central and Southwest Virginia. So congratulations on that, and I have a certificate for Dr. Nicely. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Tommy McGuire to talk a little bit about, his involvement with the AHA and what it means to him.
As a health and PE teacher, the American Heart Association has helped me provide me with additional resources to assist with my CPR, first aid, and AED instruction for 9th graders. Some examples include additional informational pamphlets, posters, and now these awesome hands-only kits. These kits can not only be used in the classroom, but can also be available in libraries for students to have access to. At Cave Spring High School, along with many other Roanoke County schools, the American Heart Challenge has helped raise awareness for our country's #1 killer, which is heart disease. On a personal note, I'm a proud father of 10-year-old triplets, and one of my sons, named Wyatt, suffers from a severe congenital heart defect called hydroplastic right heart syndrome. His overall condition is called heterotaxia, which just means organs in the wrong place or not at all. In Wyatt's case, along with his heart being backwards, he does not have a spleen, his liver is elongated, he has 2 right lungs, and his pulmonary veins connect in funny spots, along with his intestines being wound the wrong way. Hydroplastic right heart syndrome is very rare, even rarer than the left. It's not something you can find online. So basically, in Wyatt's case, he was born with a right, he was born without a right ventricle in his heart. This means that he was not getting enough blood flow to support his breathing, and too much blood flow was getting out to his body. He was also born with very little blood flow getting through his pulmonary artery. After his first surgery at UVA back in the summer of 2013, he survived cardiac shock, but unfortunately lost his right lung, making his situation even more complicated. He was not expected to live long and was sent home from the hospital after a 10-month stay. Wyatt has since had countless casts, surgeries, and procedures. His last heart surgery was this past December at Boston Children's Hospital. Wyatt is truly a miracle and has overcome incredible odds. The research funding that the American Heart Association provides through their school challenges and other programs is so beneficial to my son's life expectancy. We have already seen the impact medical technology has had on his situation. My wife and I can't thank the American Heart Association, Roanoke County Schools enough for their constant support of our family. Wyatt attends the Incredible Facts program at Oak Grove Elementary, while Sophia and Brady are proud Penn Forest Owls. So thank you all so much for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Would it be okay if we get a picture with you guys too? This is a really big deal. Having everything necessary to possibly save a life. Every life is precious, and feel for you and your situation. And I myself have a child that has a life-threatening disease, and it's very hard. And really, I want to honor you for doing this. Thank you.
Absolutely. There you go. I like that. That'll work. There we go.
All right, item 5.03, recognition of Glenver High School VHSL 2A Boys Soccer Team State Champions, Dr. Corey Franklin and Mr. Jason Murray.
Good evening. I'm going to let everybody get on in here. Around this way, guys. Careful. How old are you? All right, we got quite a crew with us tonight. First of all, members of the board, Dr. Nicely, thank you so much for having us here. Once again, Glenver has shown its stuff, how effort and dedication can get you all you dream of. This is our boys soccer team. This is the first time Glenver High School boys soccer has ever won a state championship. And we are very, very proud of all they put in. Right now, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Murray.
Just to reiterate her words, we are proud of these guys. A couple of things. One, we did have a boys state track team win their state title this year. They unfortunately couldn't be here with us. And then we had several individual girl champions this year. And over the past 2 years, that puts Glenver at 10 team state titles and multiple individual state titles. This one's a little bit more special because it's the first one for boys soccer. So I'm now going to turn it over to Coach Josh Jones.
All right, first, I'd like to thank the school board for hosting us this evening, recognizing these guys here. It's been a privilege to graduate from a Roanoke County public school and now to work within one. I'd also like to thank our tremendous administration at Glenver High School as they constantly support and provide opportunities for our academic and athletic programs to be successful. These two are two of the best right here. Also want to thank our coaching staff, Andy Clapper, Logan Boyd, Bob Van Gerven, Rich Drew, and Jair Ponce for all they do to pour into these students in our program. And of course, a huge congratulations to these student athletes for achieving their dream of winning a state title this year. To become only the second boys high school soccer team from the Roanoke Valley to do so. Many of these players have been a part of our success over the last 3 years, where they compiled an overall record of 53 wins, 3 losses, and 2 ties, and outscored our opponents 303 to 46. They've won 3 consecutive Three Rivers District Championships and 3 consecutive Region C championships. 2 years ago, we were able to reach the state semifinals, coming up just short in sudden death overtime 3-2. Last year, losing the state final by 1 goal versus Clark County. And this year, under the leadership of our captains, Colin Clapper, Marco Gustafsson, Jackson Shepard, and Zach Kerfus, we were able to compile a 21-1 overall record while outscoring our opponents 122 to 15. Our defense unit allowed 1 goal in the state tournament, while our attack scored 15 goals. Captain Colin Clapper led our Highlanders and contributed 86 career assists, even due to missing a year due to COVID and a shortened year due to COVID as well. That puts him at second best in VHSL history with 86 career assists. He was also named State Player of the Year. Jackson Shepard led our team in scoring with 34 goals and will go on to play at Lynchburg this coming fall. Going into the postseason, we challenged our young defense comprised of freshmen and sophomores to be the best defense ever taking the field at Glenver. They asked us how that could be determined. We responded with win a state title. Not only did they achieve this, but they also earned a shutout in the state final by shutting out a team that hasn't been scoreless since 2017. One of our defenders, Jake Williams, scored the game-winning goal with 2 minutes to spare in the final. Heading into the state playoffs, our coaching staff encouraged our guys to be a star in their role within our team. This would give us the greatest opportunity to be successful. The same applies to life, or we believe so. Whether you're a student, an athlete, in the workforce, a husband, a father, choose and strive to be a star in whatever role you uphold. It's been rewarding to see the culture in our soccer program evolve over the past few years. These players were able to achieve great things this year due to their competitiveness, their passion for the game, their unselfishness, and their toughness. These attributes will lead these individuals as they take their next steps in life. It has also helped establish standards for future student athletes in our program at Glenver High School. Gentlemen, I am proud of the work rate, your drive, and your constant pursuit of holding a standard of greatness. You have achieved nothing short of that. Winning a state title is great, but it was never about that. It was about giving your best in everything you do. When you do that, it gives you the greatest opportunity to be successful. Because you did that, you earned yourself the title of state champion. And congratulations. Thank you, guys.
Shepherd. Grayson Shepherd. And Jake Williams.
Coach. Right. Board members. Down here. May have to do 2 rows for you guys. So we'll kind of do taller to the front, shorter to the back. Board members again. I'll turn this a little bit. Bonk. Yes, I can. Here we go. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I think Mike's still going over. Mike, they can't vote for you.
You don't know where I'm moving, do you?
Well, that's true.
We don't know what's on his plate next.
What's that? Yes. Let's see, where are we at?
5.04.
All right. Well, let's let them get out first.
Okay, here comes some more green and gold. Boys tennis is coming, I believe.
5.04, recognition of Glenvar High School VHSL 2A Boys Tennis Team State Champions, Dr. Corey Franklin and Mr. Jason Murray.
Once again, thank you so much for bringing us here tonight to recognize the talent and achievement of these young men. This is the first time since '96 that our boys tennis team has won a state championship under the extreme direction and guidance of our wonderful coach, Mr. Bob Haney.
Well, I want to thank the school board for recognizing all the teams tonight. I want to also take this opportunity to thank and be grateful for Dr. Nicely and the school board and the taxpayers and all the powers that be that redid our tennis courts and put lights, because that was a game changer for our team and our culture. 2 years ago, we had one returning player that had ever played a high school match. So we were all beginners. And honestly, 2 years ago, I didn't think we would win a single match. And these student athletes have gone from that to winning the Class II Boys Tennis Championship. Not only did they win, but they were undefeated at 20-0. And we won 83% of our matches, 133-27, in pretty dominating fashion. As Jamie Soltis used to say, they left no doubt. I call it the miracle team, as they developed over the last 2 years, skill by skill, lesson by lesson, match by match. It was because of their humility, their willingness to be coachable, and the fact that they were extremely hardworking. But given all of that, the thing I'm most proud of this team was for the respect they gave each other, for the help they gave each other, for the teammates they became, and for the sportsmanship they showed at all times to their opponents. In short, this team was a joy to coach. This championship was accomplished also due to the wonderful assistant coaches that we had, Shannon Hall and Ross Bishop, who have been by my side every step of the way. It's also due to our fantastic parents who have supported us in so many different ways, and I'm forever grateful for their support. It's due to our AD, Jason Murray, our principals, Corey Franklin, Tyler Brown, and Tammy Odom. We're going to miss our 6 seniors who have set this bar extremely high. I'm excited to see next year's group step up. They've been waiting in the wings, and I expect a lot from them also. I'm proud of their accomplishment. I'm proud of the young men that they are, and I know that they'll take the lessons that they've learned from this past experience into their lives, and I thank you very much.
You guys are going to back. There we go. All right, here we are. Don't go away.
Dr. Franklin, I just want to say that we as board members probably need to be careful because your attendance at these meetings seem to be outpacing some of ours maybe. It seems you're here every month with somebody. Keep up the good work.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 5.05, recognition of Northside High School Class of 2023 Valedictorian Tyson Lee. Ms. Jill Green.
So somebody, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Nicely, we are very excited and so thankful that we get to celebrate Tyson tonight. Tyson was not able to participate with his graduation this year. Tyson went on a field trip with one of our clubs and started feeling a little under the weather, and by the time he got back, Tyson ended up at VCU for about 3 weeks. We spoke often. He wanted to be able to have the opportunity to speak at graduation. Tyson graduated as a valedictorian, qualifying as one to speak with a GPA of 4.289. I promise, yes. I promised Tyson if he would get better, that we would make sure we celebrated him in a cap and gown. So we made that happen tonight. I want to give him his diploma. He did not want to speak. He was very nervous. He said, Ms. Green, at graduation, there's more than just me. And I said, you'll be all right, Tyson. Your parents want to see this. So Tyson, I'm going to give you your diploma, and you may move your tassel from your right to your left. Right now. We also have another surprise. Our athletic director will join us. Tyson is very involved in our school in lots of ways. He also did not get to finish his senior soccer season, so I'll let Mr. Deacon share another surprise.
Thank you, Chairman, school board members, Dr. Nicely. We have another award for Tyson tonight. To give you guys a little background, there's 6 Blue Ridge District schools, and we have a Blue Ridge District all-academic team each year, and there's 5 representatives from each school. At Northside, it's the 5 senior athletes with the highest GPA. So Tyson was one of those. The awards were presented to the other 4 at our senior awards ceremony that he couldn't be at, so we wanted to present him with this award tonight. As Ms. Green said, his GPA was over a 4.2, so that put him in the top 5 of senior athletes at Northside this year. Congratulations, Tyson.
He's adamant he doesn't want to speak. Tyson will be leaving in a few weeks. He was not sure, but he is going to be able to go to Virginia Tech, and his roommate is here to support him. You will also see a lot of his classmates stay to join in on the celebration. Thank you all for allowing us to do this.
Ms. Green.
Normally graduates just get a photo with one board member, you get them all. Ready? All right, here we are. Hold still.
Congratulations, Tyson. Thank you, Ms. Green.
Thank you.
Wow, 4.2.
Better than Tim.
4.28. Wow. All right, moving on to 5.06, recognition of Northside High School 3A state track champion, Ms. Simone Hamler, Ms. Jill Green, and Ms. Kristen Hunt.
Come on up, Simone. I think a couple months ago, Coach Hunt said you might see this young lady again. And let me remind you, she is just a junior. I had the opportunity to go to the state track meet at Liberty and watch Simone run. Simone runs the 400, and that's, in my opinion, it's one of the most difficult races. It's a beautiful race to watch someone who can run like Simone, so it was a treat. I will let Coach Hunt share with you some of the accolades from the spring season for her.
Hello. I'm a little teary because Tyson was one of my indoor track athletes, and it was really nice to see him graduate, so I'm going to try to control myself for you. So first, I want to thank you all for allowing us to be here. I know it's going to be a long night for you, so I'm going to try to make it quick. But I do sincerely appreciate you acknowledging our athletes. This is the second time I've been here for Simone. I've been here for other athletes. I teach first grade. I've been here for my elementary students. I've been here for our student athletes who do art, who are at Burton. So I appreciate you taking out your time to celebrate these kids. I think it's crucial for them just to have that little bit of recognition. And as Ms. Green knows, I'm always complaining about not getting enough attention for these kids. So thanks for letting me speak just for a minute. So I want to talk about Simone, who is unbelievable. Clearly, she's a good athlete, but I want to talk about some other stuff about her first. So Simone is a rising senior. She is only 16. I keep saying that because I think that's a big deal, that she's very young and she is very mature. She's way more mature. She's wiser than her age, is what I guess I should say. But she came in as a freshman. She has been a leader. She was voted as captain as a sophomore. The kids look up to her. The seniors look up to her. Our middle schoolers idolize her. She's been in my classroom, my first grade classroom. My kids think she is amazing, and they just want to be just like her. And she's just an amazing person. So going into our season, she had already won the state title for indoor. So we came in for outdoor with some high hopes. We made some selfish decisions for Simone to do more individual events rather than relays. And she qualified for states immediately in her 3 individual events. And then she did the selfless thing and she started doing relays to qualify her friends as well in states, just sacrificing some titles for herself. When she won her state titles, when she won her state titles, we do the 3A meet and the 4A meet. So we have 2 different state meets going on at the same time. As soon as she won, she went straight to the 4A girl who also won, congratulated her. She won the next event, same girl won for 4A. She was hero worshiping her, bowing down, hugging her, asking to take pictures. She was more excited for that girl than she was for herself. So I feel like that is who Simone is. I don't want people to think that I'm bragging about her and that she's got a big head. She is amazing. She doesn't have to say anything. I am her hype girl. I'm gonna go on about her. You're gonna see her next year over and over again. She ran the 100 for states. I think you were ranked 6th. You came in 3rd. Out of 613 girls who ran that event this year, she came in 3rd place. Out of the 200 meter, over 600 girls ran this, and she came in 1st place. 1st place out of 600 girls. And she broke a school record. I guess I coached the girls, so it's been about 9 years. So 25:39 was her time. And then in the 400, 1st place out of over 400 girls who ran the event, knocking 2 seconds off of her time. And if you've ever run 400, knocking 2 seconds off is insane. She's running the same time as some of the boys. Actually, you're faster than most of the boys on our team with a 57:25. Some of the awards she received this year at the Cosmopolitan meet, which is our big regional meet, she was runner of the year again, 2nd year in a row. She did not win Region Athlete of the Year because she decided to run some other events to get her friends in. So she sacrificed that very big honor for somebody else to get it, which was much recognized by the other coaches. So again, that's her character. She qualified for the Nike Nationals at Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon, which is the most famous track and field arena in the whole world. We did not go. We are going to go this year coming up. It's a little expensive for us. So on a teacher's salary, I've got to save some money. But she went to the Adidas Nationals in Greensboro, and we had kids representing Roanoke County from William Byrd, from Hidden Valley, and then I think, is that it? I think that's it. So. And Simone did amazing then and continued on and broke her 200-meter record. She's amazing. She's fabulous. You're going to see her again. And I want to thank you.
You guys want to take?
No. That's all right.
Now you do.
Congratulations, Simone, and thank you, Ms. Hunt. 5.07, recognition of Northside High School 3A girls softball state champions, Miss Jill Green and Ashley McDaniel.
Come on, girls. Come on. Yes. I said one of the biggest challenges was keeping them quiet out in the lobby for the last 45 minutes. Come on up. They took more of a non-traditional route to get where they got at the end of the season. They had 10 losses, okay? But they won when they needed to win, and they beat the best of the best to bring home the state title. And I think 4 out of the last 5 games, it was a one run, probably runners on, but they did the little things to make it count. They were a true joy to watch and follow, and I'm super proud of these young ladies. We have a few moving on. We have several returning. Just a class act group. Ms. McDaniels will share some of the specifics.
First off, thank you guys for recognizing these wonderful female athletes tonight. We as a staff first want to thank the community for all the support during our postseason run. It's sometimes a challenging task to keep the energy and level of support that was shown after school has been dismissed for summer break. We certainly could have not done this and been successful without the support of our administration, especially Ms. Green, principal, and our athletic director, Tyler Deacon. A special thanks to Mr. Linden for making the trip to support the girls on this amazing journey, as well as the other Roanoke County School staff support received. We also would like to congratulate and thank our amazing female athletes. These young ladies came together and decided on a common goal for the season, to make it to states. Lastly, thank you to our parents for always showing up, loving, and supporting your daughters throughout this season. Although our season had bumps along the road, these young ladies stayed true to the course and never lost sight of their goal. They came together as one and worked hard to overcome all odds and challenges faced throughout a long season. However, what we are most proud of is what they proved to themselves. They are smart, talented, dedicated young women who can achieve whatever they set their minds to. We are proud to call them Vikings and your Class 3A 2023 state champions. I would now like to introduce the staff and players that are present with us tonight. Number 2, Carly Austin. Number 3, Mackenzie Taylor. Number 4, Chloe LaFawn. Number 5, Sydney Jordan. Number 6, Layla Aguilar. Number 7, Bailey Compton. Number 8, Shelby Ellis. Number 10, Madalena Shepard. Number 13, Carson Michaels. And last, number 15, Bonnie Ellis. And with me also today, assistant coach Brett Newman.
Yeah. I'll let you get in the middle.
Don't go anywhere. Pretty good. Well done.
Mr. Linden.
All right. I just wanted to congratulate you guys. What a great run there at the end of the year. It was a lot of fun to watch, and unfortunately we couldn't have Coach Brammer here tonight, but I know
Throw a little William Byrd in
From
there.
William Byrd, I got to give Tim a little bit of credit because we didn't see any William Byrd teams here tonight, but we did see a lot of green and gold.
Oh, that's rough.
But Coach McDaniel, I wanted to thank you for those getting those motivational speakers before each tournament game. And from what Coach Brammer said after when you guys got back, that proved to be very helpful, and it's a sign of a Northside Hall of Famer to arrange that kind of thing to get those people out. It all starts with outstanding coaching, but don't forget your parents because they were instrumental in this. I can't remember the number of times I would drive by fields in North County and see some of your parents out there either playing catch. I think Barry Compton back there probably spent more time behind the plate than he cares to remember, but obviously it paid off. So this enthusiasm, Carson, it was a great season. And Bailey, I don't know how you're such a bulldog on the field, but so timid off the field. I don't understand, but good luck over at Roanoke College, and look forward to being able to continue to watch you play.
Do any of you have Coach Barton? Do y'all play travel ball and have Coach Barton from Byrd? Oh, do you? Yeah. Well, make sure you tell him this is what we need to see next year. Right? Congratulations. It's an awesome honor.
Congratulations, ladies. Great job.
Congratulations.
I think we've had a lot to be proud of over the last year. We've had a lot of state champions come through this
A lot of
boardroom.
green and gold.
A lot of green and gold. It's good to be in Glenver, Catawba, and Hollins.
That's right.
All right, let's move on.
No comment.
All right, so we're getting to 6.01, hearing of citizens and delegations. During this portion of the meeting, citizens are invited to address the board on matters of public concern and exercise of their First Amendment rights. In the interest of time, speakers must be either parents, employees, students, or citizens of Roanoke County. We ask speakers to be respectful and civil in their comments, observing due respect of the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by public comments. Speakers should be aware that they may be held legally responsible if they make statements that violate the legal rights of others. For example, if statements are made that are defamatory, threatening, complaints about specific school personnel should be addressed outside of this meeting to the appropriate school administration, who will address those concerns as appropriate through existing complaint procedures. Comments likely to disrupt the board's work or prompt a breach of the peace are prohibited, and the speaker will be called out of order by the board chair. Speakers must address the board chair rather than individual board members. Speakers have 3 minutes to make their comments and will be signaled by the lights on the podium. When the light turns yellow, please wrap up your comments and finish before the light turns red. Please be aware that board members listen to comments but do not respond. Michelle Brooks.
Sorry. Okay. I left a very toxic work environment 6 years ago. And I had been in that system for 5 years, and the micromanaging got to be so bad that I knew that there was no trust between the central office and the teachers. And my colleagues had moved over to Roanoke County, just talked about how wonderful it was here, how great it was, how positive, it's just a great work environment. And I can remember my first training, and I asked a question. It was reading training with Joe Legault, and he looked at me. I asked a question, and he said, well, you're a professional, use your judgment. If you had to understand the work environment I had come from, it was like saying, I trust you, And I was being treated as a professional. And through that, I fell in love with teaching again. I found my passion, I found my calling, I just loved what I did. And my confidence in my teaching abilities improved. Unfortunately, that is beginning to change. Many teachers have expressed the desire to leave after this next school year due to the micromanaging of policies that shows you don't trust employees' judgments. From the failed library policy implemented last year to ignoring the secondary principals and teachers' requests to do away with final exams, and finally policing what can and can't be on classroom walls. Instead of talking to people individually about something that may not be appropriate on the walls, there's yet another policy that implies you don't trust our capabilities to know what exams to give, but also we can't be trusted to decorate our classrooms in a warm and inviting way without it being approved. I went through board docs and looked up all the licensing info for all the new hires. Out of 83 new teacher hires that I saw, I found 37% of those hired had yet to receive their teaching license in Virginia. 37%, over a third. So this tells me it's either a provisional license, a person who moved from out of state, which happens, or someone fresh out of college with little to no experience. More and more experienced teachers are leaving every year to go to other districts or to quit teaching. To combat that, a great step would be to not approve these policies that assume employees in the district cannot be trusted to perform their jobs without being micromanaged. I know these policies will be implemented tonight, but at what cost? Several teachers in the district have already made plans to brush up their resumes and apply to other districts for school year 24-25 due to not feeling respected. So before you vote tonight, I ask you to think about the ultimate cost of implementing the exam policy and the classroom decor policy. Thank you.
Tristan Shepard. And after Tristan Shepard will be Decca Knight.
Okay. Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. So my name is Tristan Shepard. I'm one of the several transgender students at Glenver. On July 2nd, I attempted to end my life. I spent the next 10 days in the hospital instead of working on my English 11 work, which I was taking over the summer so I could graduate early and get out of this cesspool of a school system. That did not protect me when I was being bullied and harassed relentlessly, ultimately contributing to my suicide attempt. I was in the hospital instead of taking the driving lessons that were scheduled for that week. I was in the hospital instead of enjoying the summer. I now fear that I may end up in the hospital with the new policies Youngkin passed. I fear for my safety at school. Mr. Hudson, you say you're a dad. How would you feel if your child told you they were scared to go to school or that they wanted to end their own life? How would you feel if a parent was bullying your child by spreading lies on social media, where grown adults were sharing the lies and inciting violence against your child, and neither the school nor the school board did anything to help? Ask my mom. It does not feel good. You also said that every life is precious. You are not doing your job to protect me and provide a safe place where I can learn, and for what? Because I'm transgender. I am a human being just like you, but you are not treating me like one. Thank you for your time.
After Ms. Knight will be a Marissa Yee.
Chairman of the board, members of the school board, and Dr. Nicely, thank you for giving me a few minutes to speak with you again. My name is Decca Knight, and I have a child in Roanoke County Schools, and I also work as a licensed professional counselor and trauma specialist here in the Valley. I would like to address this board's belief that parental rights are first and foremost in education. This belief has likely spurred your library policy, your new policy on classroom displays, and your support of Governor Youngkin's new policy regarding transgendered youth. I recently came back from a vacation at Disney World, and it was magical. I noticed that at Disney World, there were pride flags everywhere, rainbow merchandise, and more. Throughout the month of June and beyond, we saw flags and rainbows in many establishments, and it made me wonder how the parents' rights groups might handle this if their young child asked about the rainbows. I know that when my child was young and we weren't ready to talk about something, and he asked, I would say, "We can't talk about that till you're older." Simple as that. These anti-rainbow parents can do that too. If it is a parent's right to dictate what books are in their child's school, what decorations are in their child's teachers' classrooms, and what curricula their child studies, I assert that my belief system is just as valid as yours. It is my right to ask that books about different types of families and rainbows in classrooms be a part of my child's education. It is my right to ask that my child see the beautiful diversity of our nation in their schools. I have no problem with my student knowing that a teacher is Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, atheist, gay, straight, Republican, Democrat, and more. Seeing representation of all these groups in our schools helps children to learn that we are all different and that all differences should be respected. Understanding and visibility of differences is not akin to indoctrination in any way, shape, or form. I would also like to address Governor Youngkin's model policies released last week. In reading through the policies, I had many concerns that I don't have time to mention here, but one response in the guidelines that concerned me most was the response to bullying. Many board members have reiterated to me over and over that they will not tolerate bullying in our school system. In response to feedback stating that the school personnel or other students refuse to use preferred pronouns is bullying, the VDOE asserted that the exercise of a constitutional right, including the refusal to use preferred names or pronouns, necessarily does not intend to harm, intimidate, or humiliate, and therefore cannot meet the definition of bullying. I actually had to reread that statement numerous times because it seemed unreal to me. If a transgender student or non-binary student had permission to change their pronouns or name from their parents, and a teacher chooses to use what we call a dead name or pronoun because they do not respect the identity of the child, that to me is humiliation. That is the definition of bullying, and it will undoubtedly harm that student. In addition, the policy states that parents should be involved if the student is choosing to change their identity. I have been involved in numerous cases as a therapist with youth and adults whose parents did not believe in their LGBTQ+ identity. In almost all these cases, the parents were emotionally abusive, if not physically, to their child when they came out. In the last board meeting, I shared with you some stats on homeless youth. According to a study conducted by the Williams Institute, 40% of homeless youth are LGBTQ+, and of those 40%, 46% ran away because of family rejection. Forced outing to a parent can be dangerous. These policies will put at-risk children at greater risk. I will end with this statement. If you don't think that representation and visibility matter, then you are more than likely well represented in society. Thank you.
The next speaker after Ms. Yee will be Kimberly Irving.
I have a quick question. Is Mohammed Al-Shawarbi going to be allowed to speak? Okay. My name is Marissa Yee, and I'm a Cave Spring Middle School parent, as well as the vice president of the Roanoke Diversity Center. I was going to share a personal story. 22 years ago, I gave up my first daughter for adoption. While I'm grateful her parents were able to raise her when I was not in a space to, I didn't learn until later that they didn't believe in same-sex equality. Since we've been reunited, she's come out to me as queer, even though she was raised in a conservative Catholic home that put down gay people. She even takes anything down. Now that she lives on her own, she takes down anything rainbow because she fears what her parents will say or react if they'll disown her. And when she's with me, she can be her free queer self. My daughter here, I have raised her since birth. She's 13, but going to be 14 in September. And she's been exposed to me as a queer woman for almost 14 years now. She goes with me to Pride events, Diversity Center events. She loves rainbows, and although she is a very supportive ally, her best friend is queer. She identifies as straight and she likes boys. So regardless of having grown up around rainbows and a queer person, she is straight. Telling these teachers to not be supportive of their queer students, first of all, can be dangerous. As I told you before, I was beaten when I was outed to my own mother. My first daughter lived in fear of her own parents finding out, even though they adopted her. It isn't a choice to live in fear. Children are beaten and killed for being queer. And straight people don't go to sleep or the movies or shopping or concerts wondering if they're going to be murdered because of the genitals of who they love. Thank you for your time.
After Ms. Irvin will be Ryan White.
Good evening. I'm speaking tonight in response to comments made in last month's meeting and this past work session. As a current teacher and parent of 2 children in our schools, I'm deeply concerned with the direction this board is headed in regard to the policies that are being created to control our teachers' every move. First, I would like to address the notion that teachers are lazy or so unbelievably cool that all students would want to do at the end of the year is just hang out. Neither could be further from the truth. While I'm sure we would all love to think our students enjoy our company, the truth is that by the end of the year, we have all had enough time together. If a student did not need to be present or were not receiving much needed instruction, they would find creative or even not so creative ways to get out of being there. As for being lazy, testing for testing's sake does not equate to work ethic. Would we refer to any other professional as lazy if they displayed the ability to look at a task, prioritize their tasks, and effectively complete their task with efficiency? No. In fact, we would consider that person up for a raise and a promotion. Second, I would like to address the micromanagement by creating policy after policy to control staff. I do agree with consistency. As a parent whose children have moved schools within our county, while I teach at a 3rd school and have many friends whose kids attend other county schools, I'm continually baffled at how different things can be, specifically in grading practices. I agree that at different levels, students' Blackboard classes and student and parent views should all look the same. It shouldn't take mental gymnastics for students or parents to figure out what is coming up, what needs to be caught up, and what their actual grade is. What I do not agree with is the removing of individuality within our schools. Proposed policies strip staff of their ability to create vibrant and engaging learning environments, all in the name of fear. You yell parents' rights, and yet you strip me of mine as a parent because they don't align with yours. Your proposed policies state the removal of politically motivated items, and yet all you do is push your political agenda on our schools. I am struggling to understand how you can have it both ways. You claim a deep respect for our constitutional rights, but when my religious beliefs collide with yours, suddenly they are rendered void. Your job is to fix, maintain, and better our schools. I am urging you to please spend your time creating policies that do just that. Help us build consistency in our online grading platforms. Help us continue to create innovative classrooms that win awards. Help us to meet all students and family needs and to fix the relationships your words or lack of words have damaged. You often end each meeting with an email that says, we have the best teachers around, yet your actions speak very differently. Show not only us, but our community that you believe those words by supporting us and allowing us to do what you hired us to do. Treat us like professional experts. Let's all work together to ensure that the next time RCPS finds itself in the news, it's for being the best school division Southwest Virginia has to offer. Thank you.
After Mr. White will be Tiffany Sandifer.
Thank you, members of the school board. My name's Ryan White. My daughter is a student at Roanoke County Schools. I'm also a physician with board certification in child and adolescent psychiatry. I stand before you today to advocate for the rights of students and for the importance of classroom inclusion. Like yourselves, I was in this room last month when we heard students, teachers, residents who came forward to speak up for inclusion and against discrimination towards LGBTQ+. I heard Roanoke County citizens present you with data about negative impacts of exclusionary practices and how they impact the mental health of youth, including the point where youth in our community are getting to feel like suicide is the answer, which we heard a young individual talk about briefly. This data shows us clearly that we need to build resilience through inclusion and not through marginalizing youth or by taking away their rights. They need to be heard. As a healthcare provider in our area, I can also attest that these are not just numbers from some study. These are affecting our youth here in Roanoke. Our youth are suffering. We have youth that become so isolated, invalidated, and excluded that they reach the point where suicide is their option. It is not a moral failure of these youth. It is a failure of our adults to stand up and to create a safe and supportive and inclusive world for them. Shifting today, I saw that on the agenda, there's a vote for a new policy for school and classroom displays. Wanted to jump to that real quick. I'd like to highlight a few of the lines from the proposed policies, some of which I thought was very well written. It's written in the Roanoke County School Board that it strives to maintain a learning environment in which all students can reach their highest potential, and that this is best achieved through supportive and respectful environments. It goes on to state clearly that the school board recognizes that preparation for effective citizenship is one of the major purposes of education, and that this includes issues that are controversial. So I applaud the efforts to highlight this background and the purpose. After those statements, however, the policy goes on to state that the classroom decor and display should exclude anything that may be interpreted as supporting personal, social, political, or religious beliefs. Never mind that in the same work session, you guys spelled out that the words "In God We Trust" should be posted for all to see. Inclusion in the classroom is about embracing differences, not pretending they're not there. It's about ensuring that every student feels safe and supported in their academic journey. When they feel accepted, they can reach their highest potential. I implore the board to vote against any policy that would promote exclusion, as the current drafted policy does.
Mr. White, your time is up.
Thank you very much.
After Ms. Sandifer will be Joe Meadows, and then I believe that's, I can't pronounce, is that Devlin Meadows?
Good evening, I'm Tiffany Sandifer. Mr. Hudson, I address you specifically as chairman. Last month, you heard more than 30 parents, teachers, and students address the board. You all pointedly ignored us, and then you shouted parents' rights when a parent rightly called you cowards for doing so. This evening, I'm here to advise you that we are parents too, Mr. Chairman, and we do have rights. And while you may really dislike what we have to say, we pay you. We are your bosses, and you will listen to us. You don't have the luxury of enforcing your personal opinion as a school board member. None of you do. You work for us, the majority of your constituents. We are here addressing you tonight, as we did last month when you tried to dismiss us, and as we have since well before you were elected. It's no secret, I'm running the recall. I've obtained many interesting emails from everyone on the board except you, Mr. Chairman. Everyone else on the board has the courage to be transparent about their political bias and unwillingness to listen to constituents, but not you. All your communications are private. You don't use your district email for anything. That is notable. Still, you showed your hand. Last month, you used a Moms for Liberty dog whistle. So you've advertised who you align with, an anti-government extremist group. Your campaign contribution records show that you can be bought for $750. That's how much Tom McCracken gave to your campaign. I don't think the true conservatives that really run Roanoke County are going to let your fascist influence affect them. That's why the school board and the board of supervisors are at war. I have digital evidence of your boards trying to strategize against the board of supervisors. It's no wonder why y'all can't get anything done when I can better communicate with the conservative Republican board of supervisors than you can. We need a school board that's capable of working with our traditional Republican board of supervisors, but you can't. Because the deeply conservative leadership in the county isn't quite Christian nationalist enough for this board. I assure you McCracken will never be elected because you've motivated hundreds, maybe thousands, of Roanoke County voters to vote for traditional Republican candidates in the next 3 local elections, just to keep y'all out. Well done. With every molecule of respect that you and the rest of the board have earned from this community, I urge you all to step down. You've failed and continue to fail the students and parents that make up your community, and you've failed to uphold liberty and freedom in the face of Christian nationalist fascism. I'll see you at the next board meeting and the next and the next until our recall efforts remove you from office and we can replace you with folks who can work across ideological lines. You're stunted on that front, Mr.
Your time is up, Ms.
Chairman.
Sandifer.
Thank you for your time. I know you don't pay any attention.
Hello, my name is Joe, and I recently moved back to Roanoke County. I have 2 school-aged children, and like a lot of folks, I attended my first school board meeting last week after the disgusting and baseless claims made by a resident accusing teachers of abuse, and when this board failed to summon the courage or the decency to stop it. As a member of the LGBTQ community, I was especially disgusted that that type of hateful rhetoric had reached my hometown. I see it on social media, but to see it right down the street shook me. We obtained some of your emails recently, as you know, through FOIL requests. And while reading them, ironically enough, I see some of you love to pat yourselves on the back for being nonpartisan and solely focused on our children's education, even though any reasonable person would find that absolutely laughable. So while this board and these meetings should be nonpartisan and focused on our children's education, you have made that impossible, and that is sad. The students and citizens of Roanoke County deserve a board and administrators that are genuinely mission-focused on their education and well-being, not just in words, but in actions. What you either fail to see or understand is that simply acknowledging our existence is not a political issue, and the fact that you think it is disturbing. When it comes to what exactly teachers should and shouldn't be able to talk to about their students is reasonable people can debate, but your words and actions and the words you allow to be spoken here go well beyond a reasonable debate. You should all be ashamed of yourself that none of you spoke up and stopped the speaker on May 18th. In failing to do so, you aligned yourself with his dangerous rhetoric. I realize that 3 of you agree with the bigot who spoke on May 18th and his comments, and unfortunately, my queer superpowers won't allow me to indoctrinate you with human decency. However, if anyone on this board or this administration has any, please do what you can to ensure that type of dangerous rhetoric we heard here 2 months ago doesn't have a platform here again. Queer people are no threat to anyone. We are not trying to indoctrinate anyone, and if your child doesn't feel comfortable talking to you about their identity, don't blame teachers or the LGBT community. I would suggest you take a look at yourself. And the fact that you clearly don't trust teachers to give age-appropriate responses to questions that every child has at different points in their lives is incredibly insulting to them. We are not going to be used as political pawns. We are not going to put up with abuse. And if you scapegoat our community, we're going to continue to fight back. I urge everyone in my community to continue to show up and show out until we rid the community of this hate. Thank you.
Evelyn. After this speaker will be Keely Meadows, and then Andre, something with an F. I can't read this handwriting.
Did the timer start?
It will as soon as you start.
Okay. My name is Devlin Meadows, and I'm a non-binary, autistic 16-year-old. I dropped out of your school district for your already ludicrous policies before this point and refusal to actually change all your policies. But with the new policies, I'm insanely happy that I dropped out of Roanoke County Public Schools earlier. Now I'll get straight to the point. These policies tell me that you do not care about the children. If you really cared about the children and the voices of children of me and my sister, you would have implemented faster and more effective punishments for all the stuff going on. You would have given up spreading your Christian ideals, because religion is a human right. Freedom of religion is a human right. You would have affirmed the children of their identities and who they would be, because no trans-affirming care kills. It is killed, and you've heard it already before. You are worse for children than gender-affirming staff could ever be if you're so adamant on pushing these ideals that you could indirectly kill a child. Are you truly happy with this decision? Trans children existing will rarely, if not ever, affect you as the majority. but your policies will affect many trans children for bad or for the absolute worst. You need to seriously rethink your policies if you're going to really do it for the children, because it feels like anything but. You do not care. And I should not be fighting the rights for the right to live comfortably right now as a trans child because you want the board to be about outdated beliefs and kill and endanger other children. Until then, I'm not coming back to be educated in your district, and I'm happier being an honor student turned high school dropout instead of going to your district and hoping for the worst every day. It would be great if you could actually listen to the people you're hurting and take it into consideration if you really cared about children like me. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Anyway, my name is Keely Meadows. I was here last time. I've been here quite a bit. I'm continuing this conversation because it still affects me. As all of you know, because I've said it like multiple times, I am a student, have been a student in Roanoke County for my entire life, literally all of it, and it hasn't been this bad until 2 years ago. In elementary school, I came out as transgender. I had multiple teachers that I felt that I could come out comfortably to, and I directed all questions to my mom. If I wasn't able to do that, I wouldn't be alive today. It's just that simple. There was a student at William Byrd who committed suicide, a good friend of mine, actually. I don't have one friend that hasn't attempted suicide. I don't have one LGBTQ plus friend that hasn't attempted suicide. This is a problem on our youth. And our teachers, they're the most valuable parts of our schools. Obviously, without teachers, we wouldn't be able to teach our students. How many students have left the county because of this? It's not just affecting me, it's affecting your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and who they are and will be allowed to be. After I detransitioned, for the most part, the bullying stopped. It really was only there while I was out and transgender. I've noticed LGBTQ students have a shared feeling that we feel forgotten about a lot of the time. And I feel a lot of the same way as a special education student. It feels like we're forgotten about in every sense of the word. It took me 2 years to get an IEP. I didn't even have a 504 plan, and I'm bipolar and borderline personality disorder. I need an IEP. It took me 2 years to do that. I was talking with my therapist today. The refusal from any of y'all to listen to us, it's a tear in our democracy. If we can come in numbers and tell you how we feel, then why won't you listen? What's the point of these meetings? What's the point of us coming out and showing out and telling you how we feel if you aren't going to listen? What's the point of having these meetings? We might as well just all have closed work session meetings at this point, because nothing that we're saying is affecting any of your decisions. Thank you.
After our next speaker will be Franklin Matter and Lauren Canary.
Hello, Chairman and Board. I have noticed, and this is my first meeting, that a lot of people before me have seemed to not feel listened to, and that is the whole point of these meetings, obviously. And I've also noticed a number of teachers feeling disrespected by the board and certain policies that are being put in place. And I find that a bit odd. You know, one of the teachers said something along the lines of a lot of teachers are, considering, sprucing up their resumes so that they can leave and get a job somewhere else, which won't look good for you guys. And also, I don't know, are you guys equipped to handle as many students as they have to deal with every year? Maybe you guys should think about that a little bit more. But anyway, my point is, a lot of these policies, especially in the transgender policy support that you guys are voting on today, it's very contradictory. There's a lot of things about, supporting students and all this other stuff, but clearly you don't do that very well, and this policy doesn't do it very well. As you have already heard from students, there's a big problem with transgender teen suicide, and that is not just here, that is everywhere. So I urge you, not just for the sake of your own children, but for the sake of the children that your friends are friends with, or are around, or see every day, that you take into account genuinely what everyone is saying. Because I promise you that you don't want blood on your hands. Thank you.
Hi there. Thank you so much for the opportunity to chat with you today. My name is Lauren Canary. I'm a fourth-year medical student here in Roanoke, and I serve a number of pediatric patients through my rotations in family medicine, pediatrics, and psychiatry. And that's why I felt compelled to come here. I actually have a really big test I'm studying for, and I should be studying for it. But to me, this felt more pressing for the care of our community than that test that's approaching. This year, I don't know if you've heard about how medical school works, but in our third year, we have these rotations. Every 6 weeks, we're on a different unit, and we learn things, and we have a lot of heartbreaking patient stories that we carry with us. But the ones that have haunted me most have been those from the inpatient child psychiatry unit that you've heard about from several here today. Unfortunately, the thing that's so heartbreaking about that unit is there's so many LGBTQ identifying individuals like myself who don't feel supported at home, who to try to take their lives, and we're lucky if we have the chance to intervene. But it starts young. There were kids elementary school age with self-harm scars. And it's just really heartbreaking to hear about the failure of adults in their lives to support them. We know that having just one supportive adult in a kid's life can make a huge difference when it comes to preventing suicide. And sometimes that's a teacher or a guidance counselor, because it's not always parents. Some parents are really supportive and some aren't, of course. And I just wanted to share with you some statistics. The 2022 Trevor Project survey in Virginia showed that half of all trans and non-binary youth in Virginia contemplated suicide in 2022. And of those, 1 in 3 attempted suicide. Unfortunately, we, of course, didn't count those who were successful at that attempt. But we know that one way we can take action on these rates is to connect kids to supportive schools and communities. It showed that kids who felt like they were in a supportive school system, in a supportive community, had lesser rates of attempted suicide. And I just wanted to tie in too, since we were celebrating so many athletes today. I was a student athlete, and it's kind of what led me to be able to come to medical school and enjoy this community. That sports are one way that LGBTQ students can find support, learn teamwork, and have something to do after school to keep them active. A study in 2022 in the journal Psychology in Schools from LaRocca et al. Showed that adolescents who play sports are less likely to report depression and suicidality versus those who don't. Unfortunately, LGBTQ youth are less likely to engage in sports. So the authors of the paper said, and I quote, "Policies and interventions that increase the inclusive nature of team sports may be beneficial in both increasing participation rates and leveraging the mental health benefits of team sports for LGBTQ adolescents." So I feel like this whole policy that we're considering really is rife with contradictions around, we oppose bullying, but we want you to dead name kids. I think they would really create less inclusive schools and less inclusive sports teams if trans and non-binary kids can't participate. But mostly, I just want you to consider these statistics around suicide.
Ms. Canary, your time is up.
The stories from Tristan, Devlin, and Keely, thank you so much. And I'm so sorry that adults are here debating your existence. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Franklin Matter, and I would really like to speak to any parent out there right now who believes that isolating their children from queer influence will somehow make their children cisgender or straight. I originally come from a small town in Nevada that is very conservative and doesn't have a lot of people in it. I went to a school with exactly 60 people in it. I knew no gay people and I knew no transgender people. I didn't know the word gay until I was 14, and I didn't know the word trans until I was 16. I didn't think much about it then, and when I finally came over here, I did come out as transgender. That is to say, I would like to say that if you think you can isolate your kids from that sort of thing and it will straighten them out, it doesn't work. It just kind of makes them sad. I have a lot of mental health issues now. I don't think you guys want to hear about that, though. So instead, I think I'll talk about what I think my town has lost. They have lost somebody who wants to work in agriculture, something they desperately need right now. These sort of policies that you're wishing to push are only going to push people out. Furthermore, I miss my mom. I want to talk to her every day, and she misses me. But she doesn't want to know me, and neither does my town. So we don't talk that much anymore, and I cry about it a lot. And from what I've heard from my mom, from the few times I have spoken to her, she seems pretty sad about it too. I don't know how many kids you people have. I don't know if you have kids at all. It sounds like you do. You might have a queer kid or you might not. And I'm really sorry if you do and if you don't want to talk to them. But they're going to be sad when they grow up older. And I can't help that. And I don't think you're going to really listen to me about this anyway. So that's all I can really put up. It's just a short little testimony there. Hope you have a good day.
Judy Flincham. And then Danny Clausen. Judy Flincham next, and Danny Clausen after Ms. Flincham, and then Andrew Jones.
Hello, Dr. Nicely and the chairman and the board. Thank you all very much. Tonight I'm not here as an employee. I'm actually here as a caregiver for my grandson, who's a rising sophomore within Roanoke County Schools concerning the proposed exam policy change. He takes AP classes, but he has ADHD, so it can be a struggle. This past year, he had A's and B's at the end of the year and passed his SOLs, and therefore he was exempt from his exams in those classes. There's already enough stress and pressure put on our students to pass through SOLs without the added pressure of studying for another exam on top of those. SOLs, tests, and exams in no way show whether a student has mastered the material, nor does it show the true intellect of a student. There are many students who just do not test well due to having test anxiety, but do know the material. When Virginia decided years ago that passing the SOLs were a requirement of graduation, final exams should have been phased out at that time. Removing the exemption for all high school students except for seniors who have an A, B in their class and pass the SOL is not going to help those students who have trouble in their classes. As a matter of fact, it will hurt them. It will also hurt those students who use the incentive to work extra hard to get those A's and B's and pass the SOLs, as they will say, why bother? Instead of worrying about national test scores, we should be worrying about making sure those children who are struggling with are provided with remediation and extra help, not the added pressure of passing an exam. I had no idea of this policy change until I saw it on the agenda for the July work session. The fact that not one email or letter went out to the parents shows a lack of transparency in this policy that should in no way be changed without input from parents, teachers, and students it will affect. I went back and watched the April work session where the policy change was discussed and watched as an administrator with many years of experience try to explain why exams were not needed. I was shocked to hear one board member comment they didn't know why teachers didn't want to give exams. Maybe they were lazy or just wanted to hang out with the kids. I also watched the July work session when the same board member commented about test anxiety, that students just needed to prepare better, showing that they don't understand the difference between having test anxiety and just being anxious. It is also very distressing to know that even though when you have experienced teachers and administrators telling you that having SOLs and exams both is too much, you choose to ignore them in favor of a governor's opinion whose own children have not been educated in a public school setting. I'm asking that no decision be made until all parents and teachers are made aware and can give input, and that the current policy remain in effect for the upcoming school year. I would like to remind you all that you don't work for the governor or a political party. You work for the students, staff, and parents of Roanoke County Schools, and that includes those who do not share your opinions.
Good evening. My name is Danny Clausen. I identify as trans, masc, and non-binary. I'm here tonight to speak on Policy 3.22. This document is full of contradictions. In Section 3A, it says the district shall, quote, maintain a safe and supportive learning environment free from discrimination and harassment for all students. All. Section 3B, paragraph 3 states bullying of any student by another student for any reason cannot be tolerated in our schools. And yet, requiring staff to refer to a child by their dead name and allowing staff and students to misgender a child is bullying. Intent is irrelevant, impact is what matters. Furthermore, this policy unfairly targets students based on class. Requiring legal documentations for students to be recognized as they are is burdensome for anyone, but especially for a single parent, parents working 2 to 3 jobs, disabled parents, and parents that struggle to make ends meet. Passports are expensive. Court documents often require access to legal services. Changing a birth certificate is time-consuming. Why are we making things harder for parents of vulnerable children? Lastly, this policy is frivolous. With all the challenges that students and teachers are facing, why is this body spending its valuable time trying to regulate nicknames? It's hard enough on teachers with retention and job satisfaction at an all-time low. Why are we increasing fear, uncertainty, and stress for teachers by potentially disciplining them for calling a star athlete slugger? This document mentions constitutional rights. What about the first rights spelled out in the Constitution? The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To you, this policy is about values and protecting the comfort of individuals with one particular viewpoint. To me, this policy is a matter of life and death. Last year, 1 in 6 of all trans youth in Virginia attempted suicide. Attempted. A direct result of policies like this. As a trans kid that was rejected by their family of origin, I can tell you that it was a teacher that saved my life when I was suicidal. Studies show that the presence of just one supportive adult reduces suicide risk in trans and LGB youth by 40%. Yet this policy seeks to take away the only lifeline that an LGBT student might have. So to the trans kids in this room, let me be that lifeline. I made it to adulthood. I have 2 dogs, I own my house, and I have a wife that I adore. We're starting a family this year, and we couldn't be happier. Remember that you are strong, precious, and beautiful, and you are surrounded by adults who love you. Members of the school board, I am not a political ideology. I am a human being, and I am trans. I urge you to reject these kinds of contradictory, classist, and frivolous policies in the interests of the trans lives that you are ultimately responsible for.
After Andrew Jones will be Samantha Newell and then Sarah Hutchins.
Hello, my name is Andrew Jones. I'm a county resident, a father, a stepfather, a family member, and rec coach to county students. I would like to thank all 4 board members for being here tonight, or all 5 board members for being here tonight. I guess there wasn't a concert happening tonight since you were able to attend. Priorities. Priorities. What are the priorities of the school board? Is it protecting the rights of our children? Is it providing a safe place for our children to learn? Is it to stand behind our staff and teachers? No. Our children stand in front of you and speak from their hearts while you sit up there showing no compassion, no empathy. Our teachers were verbally attacked in front of you for well over 4 minutes, and you just watched it happen without a word. You were not elected to push your own personal views or the agendas of your friends or your backers. We will no longer stay silent. You will be held accountable. Teachers and staff, we are here for you. You are appreciated. You are loved. Children and parents that don't know where to turn, we are here for you. You're appreciated. You're loved. We will always be here for you. Is every life truly precious, Mr. Chairman? Apparently not.
Hi, my name is Samantha Newell. I am here to share not my own words, but to speak on behalf of a close friend. I would like to talk about a popular phrase we've all heard recently, especially if you were watching the June 15th board meeting when the chairman seemed quite frustrated and yelled it out in a burst of anger and indignation: parents' rights. I think we need to reclaim this phrase. After all, I know several parents of students who are part of the LGBTQIA community who would like their children to attend a school where they don't feel like they need to hide who they are. Those parents would like their child's school community to embrace their children and make them feel loved and safe and, yes, welcome. What about the rights of those parents? Instead, they have heard adults in this community, adults who are sitting on this board, send the message that who their children are should not be spoken of. They have heard loud and clear that there are people in this world, on this board, and in this community do not support them as humans. These people hiding behind the phrase parents' rights feel so strongly about hiding and, in doing so, condemning people in the LGBTQIA community that a simple love is love lanyard threatens them to their very core. Well, parents of students in the LGBTQIA community have rights too, don't they? Let's talk about the rights of parents who are part of the LGBTQIA community. People hiding behind the phrase parents' rights want to ban books in libraries that portray families different than theirs. Families with two moms, two dads, families with parents or children who are transgender, families with gay moms, bisexual dads, the list goes on. Because the people hiding behind that phrase fail to see the beauty that I do in the differences, they only see others. They fail to see those different than them as part of our community. So, what about the parents of the LGBTQIA community who want their children to read books that also represent their families? They want their children to attend schools where their families are seen, heard, and acknowledged as well. What about the rights of those parents? However, they know that we are not there yet. Perhaps seeing love is love lanyard is a reassurance that there are adults in their children's school's life who see them, who is a safe person. Having rainbows up might just make it a little easier to entrust their children to the adults in the school community. So when we talk of parents' rights, let's be sure we acknowledge their rights as well. Now, let's talk about the rights of parents like me. I have the expectation that my child will not be exposed to bigotry, and if they are, which is inevitable, there would be someone there to set it right, a teacher, an administrator, and or a counselor. As a parent, I wanted my children to know that the world is full of differences, and those differences are what make us beautiful. I want my child to know that families come in all shapes and sizes. I could have sent her to a private school, but I wanted my child to be a part of an environment that was rich in diversity, to see that not everyone looks like her, acts like her, or even loves like her. I want her to grow and learn.
Your time is up.
Thank you so much for your time.
Sarah Hutchins, then Amy Webb, and Gavisha Perez.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Sarah Hutchins. I'm the parent of two students in the Roanoke County School District, and I'm here tonight using my parental rights to voice my dismay over the new classroom decor policy that will be voted on this evening. Not only is the policy itself terrible, the way in which it's come about is reprehensible. This policy is the board's response to a parent slandering a teacher and staff during public comments at a school board meeting over something as innocuous as a picture of a rainbow. How do I know that? Because if the allegations raised by that parent during the May board meeting had any merit, by now the community would be aware of an investigation into these so-called sexual predators. But there is no investigation, is there? Because there is nothing to investigate. And there has been nothing but silence from the board until the announcement of this policy. A policy that essentially rewards slander and homophobic hate speech. So who will suffer from this policy? Firstly, our students. When they walk into classrooms devoid of anything interesting on their walls, rooms stripped of items that offer them kind words, a hopeful expression, or an inspiring quote. Think about what brings a kindergarten class or even a high school science room to life. I vividly recall walking into my daughter's middle school math class last year and being taken aback by her teacher's dedication to her room. Student artwork, Harry Potter posters, motivational quotes, and funny memes covered the walls. Not everything was specifically related to math, but it all was clearly chosen to help students feel welcome, to feel like they belonged in that room. How can you possibly get a child to understand a complex math problem if you can't first connect with them on some other level? Yes, I know, teachers are teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic. But what about kindness, compassion, empathy? Because after all, students are human beings, not robots. And aren't we tasking our teachers with the job of not just educating them in those core subjects, but also helping them learn how to thrive in our world, a world that is full of so many different people with different beliefs and different ideas? And that takes me to the second group who will suffer if this policy is implemented, our teachers. This policy is so ambiguous as to what is and is not allowed. How are teachers supposed to feel comfortable putting anything up, fearing that it might violate the policy, and knowing that any parent can get up in front of this board and slander them with no repercussions? Would you feel comfortable teaching in that environment? Would you feel supported by your school board after this? I certainly would not. And I'm certain many of our teachers feel the same. Given that there are plenty of nearby private schools, as well as public school systems, that would be happy and lucky to hire them, don't be surprised if teachers finally go where they are valued. This is an excellent school system with phenomenal teachers, but with policies like this, that's not tenable.
Your time is up.
I beg the board to recognize the talent that they have and pass policies that do the same. Thank you.
I grew up in Kentucky in a culture dominated by white conservative Christianity, which shaped both the public school policies and school culture. Any deviation from these so-called traditional values was punished or suppressed. There was no separation between church and state. Graduation was held in a church with Christian songs being sung. Science teachers discussed the Bible in class. Racial segregation was legally over, but social segregation remained alive and well. Except if you were a boy who was particularly good at sports, you could be popular as long as you didn't try to date your white teammates' sisters. If you were disabled and your disability was pronounced, you were hidden away. If you had an invisible disability, you were the butt of jokes. If you were a young woman, you could be removed from class and made to stand in front of the male principal, your arms straight down by your sides, while he scrutinized your body to see if the hem of your clothing reached the tips of your fingers. And if they didn't, you were sent home to change. You were missing out on your education so that the boys could focus on theirs. And if you're even suspected of being LGBTQ, you had a huge target on your back, and no one stepped up to stop the kids that were lining up in the shooting gallery. Teachers wouldn't or couldn't help because they themselves would become targets. Even if you fit the prescribed mold, and I'm speaking from experience here, you kept your head down and you were quiet so that you wouldn't be the next target. The board claims that all of these policies that are being enacted are to protect the children. I'm here to tell you this. In a culture of suppression, in which the seeds of fear, secrecy, and shame are sown, no one is allowed to flourish. Thank you.
Winter Schosberger and Mary Beth Vi.
Good evening. My name is Gracia Hernandez Perez. Just a correction from earlier.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I'm a 2020 graduate of William Byrd High School, and today I am a rising senior at Princeton University. Thank you. At Princeton, among other things, I study the rise and impacts of far-right policies in schools nationally, statewide, and locally. One research paper that I authored this past year was on the effects that policies like those being considered today have had at William Byrd High School. I was saddened to learn that teachers holding liberal views at this school and throughout the county have been marginalized, some to the point of leaving the teaching profession altogether after their views made them targets in a deeply hostile environment. This includes the teacher who read my application that ultimately got me into Princeton University. So, just putting that out there. These people, however, were adults who had autonomy over their lives and were able to make the decision to leave an unwelcoming work environment. Not every K-12 student in Roanoke County has that same autonomy. And this evening, you will vote on policy changes that may make school a much more unwelcoming place for some transgender students in the county. The measures that the board will vote on could force teachers and staff to out students. This practice has been shown to have a profoundly negative impact on student mental health. In a 2019 study, nearly 85% of transgender students felt unsafe at school because of their gender identity. These kids are far more likely to miss school when they feel that it is an unsafe environment, and these policies would only make schools more unsafe and more hostile for transgender students. Parents have the right to love and support and raise their children as they see fit, but these policy changes would only serve to harm transgender students who do not feel supported at home. Studies have shown that when transgender students go to school in unwelcoming environments, in welcoming environments, they are far less likely to be called by slurs or to receive harassing language. They're far more likely to feel safe at school and to go to school more regularly. They have fewer absences. And now to quote a research paper on the topic. Among transgender students, school belonging, emotional neglect by family, and internalized self-stigma made a unique, statistically significant contribution on past 6-month suicidality. What this means is that the policies being voted on tonight can directly impact the mental and physical well-being of transgender students in Roanoke County.
Ms. Perez, your time is up.
One more sentence. And as you said earlier, Mr. Chairman, every life is precious. And as a devout Christian myself, I ask this school board, please make the right decision for the health and safety of transgender students in Roanoke County and reject the proposed changes. Thank you.
Good evening, School Board Chairman, school board members, Roanoke County Public School administrators, and other interested parties. As you may have learned last month, I am Mary Beth Vi, and I won't go into all of my background, but I am a Roanoke County Windsor Hills, resident.
Ma'am, that kind of behavior will not be tolerated.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. At the beginning of this meeting, we stood and recited the Pledge of Allegiance. I surmise that the board and school administration think they believe in those words. I would like to draw your attention to the final 6 words: with liberty and justice for all. With liberty and justice for all. Does the board mean it? Does the school administration mean it? At May's meeting, the board allowed a speaker to slander 4 talented, caring educators and did nothing. In fact, the board allowed the individual to speak an additional 1.5 minutes beyond the allotted time. In the last minutes of May's meeting, when the superintendent and each board member were given a moment to share thoughts, no one corrected the slanderous verbiage of the speaker, and several members took his words to heart and said his complaint would be investigated, ignoring his use of lies and slander in his complaint. You want to investigate? That is your privilege. But supporting slander is not. Is this liberty and justice for all? How have 4 educators been given justice? They have been slandered and vilified because of how you conducted your school board meeting when all in authority let the lie go unchallenged. Is this justice? Or do you believe in liberty and justice for all only when they agree with you? Do you ever truly listen to those who are different from you to gain new perspectives? You have had time to think and reconsider your actions. A wise person does make mistakes, but when mistakes are noted, the wise person corrects them and attempts to not repeat them. I have waited in vain for the board, individual members of the board, or members of the Roanoke County Public School Administration to state for all to hear that these talented educators have been maligned and are not sexual predators, but caring, loving educators who work hard to educate their students. All I have heard in this regard is silence. Our superintendent did say at June's meeting, and I quote, "Reasonable people can disagree, and debate about matters of public concern can be done without the need for hyperbole, misrepresentation of facts, or being disrespectful." Great words, but they were a month late. He made this statement after many had given their thoughts about May's speaker without hyperbole, misrepresenting facts, or being disrespectful. Those words described May's speaker.
Ms. Vi, your time is up.
Thank you.
After Ms. Schosberger will be Brian Handy and Laura Bowman.
Hi. First, I'd like to thank the board for their commitment to allowing public comment. It is my hope that you don't just allow it, but hear it and try to understand the concerns brought forward by the people you represent. I think we can all agree that it's a parent's job to help their child become a productive member of society. And though we don't all agree on the many methods to achieve that, we know that education is key. The question then becomes, how much say should parents have in public education? I've read countless articles about school systems in the United States where parent choice has crossed the natural divide between choosing for one's own student and choosing for all students. Every time I read one of these articles, I wonder how far our CPS will go in allowing parents to administer changes to public education here. Sometimes I hear individuals, including board members, idealize the way schools were while claiming that public schools have overstepped their place and that we must return to basics. Yet here in Virginia, we consistently rank high on lists of states with the best education system. According to these rankings, the basics are in place and being taught exceptionally. If we're using the NAEP report card from 2022 as the basis for returning to basics, we shouldn't. Virginia did experience a decrease in test scores this past year. Our results were similar to that of the majority of the United States. Public school students across the country have experienced a trauma and have been expected to perform as though they haven't. Our kids are not the same in 2022 as they were in 2019, and pretending like they are or should be isn't helping them. Additionally, our CPS is now increasingly dependent on provisionally licensed teachers. Given this board's push for more significant focus on testing, we should first make sure that our teachers are adequately prepared to teach the material. At the very least, it's my parental right to know if my student is being taught by a provisionally licensed teacher in classes that can adversely impact their GPA or that require tests that they must pass in order to graduate. Wanting schools to go back to the way things were was never about teaching the basics. Past iterations of public school were only better for some at the expense of others. Being required to hold space for all can be uncomfortable for those who think the space belongs to them. If our CPS is committed to providing a welcoming and safe environment for all, then everyone from the school board down should have professional training on how to interact with different populations and how to respond when situations arise that are outside the scope of that individual's lived experience. The vision of the VDOE is that Virginia will maximize the potential of all learners through its mission to advance equitable and innovative learning. It's difficult to deliver equitable and innovative learning when parents stand in the way of progress and the boards that are supposed to lead choose to follow.
Hello, my name is Brian Handy. I live in Highlands. If you put 20 parents in a room, I bet you'd get 20 answers on what schools should be teaching. But I bet all 20 of us would agree that we should have qualified teachers teaching in those classrooms. I bet you'd get 20 answers on how the school system should spend its budget. But I bet all 20 would agree that every student should have the same opportunity, whether they live on the north or the south side of the county. I bet if you ask, you'd get 20 answers on what the school board should supply and what parents should supply. But I bet all of us would agree that the school system should supply the basics of running a school. I recently had a conversation with a special ed teacher. She has to go every fall to Staples, spend hundreds of dollars printing things that her children are required to have in their IEP because you all aren't funding it. I bet we could all agree that shouldn't happen. Or that they shouldn't have to post Amazon wish lists in the hope that someone will help them out. But if you look at the amount of resignations, provisional licenses, the disparity between North and South County, and the money being spent by PTAs and parents on an ever-growing school supply list, the 5 of you are not doing your job. I half joke every fall, I wonder if toilet paper will be on the school supply list this year, because the parents are already supplying the tissues, paper towels, bleach wipes, dry erase markers, and copy paper. I'm not anti-athlete. 2 of my 3 kids participate in sports, but I wonder how much we could have done with the $967,620.88 we spent on turf at Northside when we tore up a perfectly good grass field. How much school debt could we have paid off instead of relying on charity money to pay off that lunch debt? How many things are getting lost in all of the drama that you all create based off of the wants of a few stakeholders, as you call them, instead of working for the county as a whole? Thank you.
After Ms. Bowman will be Lee, I believe it's August, Sarah Kennedy, and Mohammed El-Shwarbi.
Laura Bowman, Windsor Hills District. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Nicely. The Surgeon General recently listed the top environmental conditions harming adolescent mental health. They are poverty, trauma, discrimination, and excessive pressure to excel in all areas of their lives. Students who experience these are at risk for anxiety, depression, suicide, and substance abuse disorders at a rate of up to 6 times higher than the national average. 1 in 3 students are negatively impacted by achievement pressure. Over 10 million students experience some level of test anxiety. We need to ensure every child knows they matter and they're valued by their family, friends, and community. They're enough just as they are. They don't matter more because they perform better on a test or fit inside a specific societal mold. Trends in education come and go, bad ideas are recycled under new names, and the pendulum swings on the value and types of assessment students are given. There's solid research on the benefits of discovery-oriented learning, where kids learn by doing. They better remember when they're actively engaged in their learning. This collaborative inquiry model of education serves them better than being drilled with information for a test and then forgetting that information. Consider as well the core knowledge curriculum for elementary schools. It focuses on general knowledge across a broad range of topics and has shown positive long-term outcomes for students. A recent UVA study revealed that focusing on general knowledge increased reading scores and almost eliminated income-related opportunity gaps. It's exciting to hear that increased exposure to general knowledge about the world may hold the key to greatly reducing achievement differences between low and high income students. Standardized test scores like NAEP and SOL scores tell us more about a student's zip code than they do about individual student learning and have never, in the decades they've been in place, reduced the opportunity gap. Instead of focusing on testing, it's best to focus on teaching. Engaging curriculum taught by experienced, certified teachers in well-resourced schools ensures positive, long-lasting outcomes for students. Some say higher standards and increased assessments are needed due to Virginia's NAEP scores. At the same time, certified, experienced teachers are being driven out of the profession due to low pay, disrespect, and a misguided focus on moral panic issues. This does not bode well for students and their test scores. The NAEP test is but one snapshot of learning given to a small sampling of 4th and 8th graders nationwide, not to all students. Folks start worrying when they hear kids aren't proficient on the test, but a score of proficient doesn't represent grade level proficiency on local or state assessments. We shouldn't use false equivalencies to guide local assessment needs. There are many things that divide us these days, but disdain for the over-testing of kids overwhelmingly unites us. Viewing students through a deficit lens does a disservice to them, their individuality, and their ability to change, grow, and learn. Who benefits when a deficit lens is used and when moral panics ensue? It's never the students. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Lee Edward August, and I am a 23-year-old transgender masculine person. I am here today as a 2018 graduate of Cave Spring High School who is gravely concerned for our queer and transgender youth. I am frankly appalled by the proposed policies discriminating against transgender youth and the active erasure of queer existence as a whole. I know you have heard the statistics already of how suicidal ideation and attempts will skyrocket if you pass these policies. These statistics are very correct and serious. I know because if I was in grade school today, I would be horrendously tempted to take my own life in a world that is actively stripping away my rights as we speak. I wear all black clothing today in mourning for those transgender lives lost and for those that may be lost if you approve of these policies. I came before you, our dear transgender youth, present today and any others who may be listening, as a 23-year-old trans person pleading you to stay. I am so sorry you are facing the coldest and harshest realities of humanity right now. But I promise you, I swear, it will get better. Listen to your queer elders. We love you, and we are here for you. I am here for you. Please stay and fight. Fight this hatred and bigotry and show them what our generation is made of. We will not be silenced. We have been here since the very beginning, and they will not erase us. Thank you.
My name is Sarah Kennedy, and I'm a parent of a Hidden Valley graduate and a current Hidden Valley student. My graduate was also a valedictorian with a GPA above 4.2. The English Scholar of the Year. He rode in the Athletic Equestrian Nationals. Your school well. He is transgender. As he represented your school well, another individual here unable to speak would like to be heard. Good evening, I'm Robin Snow. My pronouns are they, them, and she, her. I'm a Roanoke, born and raised, and a former Northside High School student, graduate of 2007. Of course, when I went to Northside, I went by a different name and looked quite different as well. I finally came out as trans last November after 2 decades of living in fear, shame, denial, and isolation. You see, the environment I grew up in was hostile and nearly to everything queer. Family and peers casually used homophobic slurs in everyday conversation, while hateful preachers ranted in churches on TV about how we were the reason for diseases, national disasters, terrorism, and more. I was all enough to make life very miserable when it became clear I was one of the ones around me being hated, including people that I loved. They said bone-chilling things about, and sometimes too, about other LGBTQ plus people, all while never knowing they were also saying these things about me. It terrified me and made me feel like I was alone and had no one I could trust, not even other LGBTQ people, and it was horrible. That's how a lot of LGBTQ plus youth felt then, and sadly, that's how they feel now, especially as this board is set to approve 2 new policies designed to hurt them, one of which essentially declares the very existence of LGBTQ plus people in Roanoke County schools to be political and bans anything representing us on those grounds, and another that imposes cruel, dangerous restrictions on trans students that deny their autonomy and make an already hostile environment for them even more so. Both policies and the malice underlying them demonstrate the intense wave of anti-LGBTQ plus hatred sweeping the country has now swept into Roanoke. So many of the children some claim to care so much about are going to suffer needlessly for it, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting that these policies were drafted at all. It's disgusting that anyone thinks they're actually a good idea, and it's disgusting that you're considering going through with them. So I have only one thing to say to you. Shame on you. Shame on you. And to the queer students of Roanoke County Schools, if you have no one else in your lives who will support you in this dark time, then support each other and know that you have the support of the LGBTQ plus community at large. Because despite the best efforts of the hateful, both here and across the country, to stop you, it's you who will chart the course of the world's future. You already have. You are loved. I'd also like to thank the members of the Bonsack United Methodist Church for being here in support and love of our children and teachers. May we continue to represent this county well.
Hello again. My name is Mohammed El-Shorbi, and I'm the board president of the Roanoke Diversity Center, the region's LGBTQ plus community center that serves Southwest Virginia. Congratulations to the athletes that were here earlier. That's a wonderful and well-deserved honor. And we should be celebrating students for all the different things they bring to our communities. We should celebrate who they are, celebrate their creativity, their empathy, and their ability to explore and find themselves, just as much as we celebrate their academics and their sports. Sadly, the proposed policies that this board is looking to vote on for trans students does not do that. In fact, it treats students exploring who they are as a threat that apparently takes away their parents' rights, a threat that distracts from learning, a threat to these same sports teams that we're celebrating today, when in fact the only threat here is the harm done to the trans students. These policies do not protect trans students or non-trans students from anything. All it does is stifle the conversation and takes away the school as a safe space for these students to explore who they are. State law requires that state model policies from the VDOE and local policies be in accordance with evidence-based best practices. And evidence-based research, as you've heard, and studies shows that outing kids to their parents or communities when they're not ready can cause long-term mental and emotional harm, excuse me, let alone opening the door for potential abuse, bullying, isolation, and being kicked out. There's always a reason if a kid isn't going to their parents first, and I'm not saying that every situation is going to be bad. However, taking away a kid's autonomy of when they come out to their parents is very harmful. And from personal experience and from other experiences you've heard here, it does take longer to come out to your own family and parents, because losing a friend, if you come out to them, might not be that life-ending, but losing your family, your parents, your guardians can be and is in many times. There are sections in this policy about anti-bullying measures and respecting trans students, but I have to be honest, this county's track record with both of those things does not inspire a lot of confidence. When a student has bullied their own teacher on social media because they have rainbow flags up in a high school in the county, when parents are allowed to go into classrooms after hours and take things down, when teachers are allowed to come in here parents come in here and malign teachers, and when parents are able to cyberbully trans students and their families without anybody doing anything about it, or when even trans students and their families come up here and they don't really find the support they need. So I would just, in the end, would just like to say to please reject these policies. I have business cards from our organization for you all. Before you apply these kinds of policies, please reach out to an organization like ours where we can work with you to make policies that actually can protect these kids, that actually would work for these people. I don't believe you've actually reached out to any stakeholders, as you would say, that actually would affect these kids. Thank you, and if I can I please have that? Thank you.
All right, that is the end of our hearing of citizens and delegations, and I believe we are going to go into a brief recess. Dr. Nicely, do we need to make that a motion?
I don't think so.
No. We're going to make a brief, we're going to have a brief recess. All right, thank you to everyone for bearing with us. We're going to move on to our consent agenda. These are items that we typically speak about in work sessions and prior meetings. So we have a motion to accept the.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to accept consent agenda as approved.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Item 8.01, revision to policy 6.16, final assessments and exemptions. Mr. Mike Riley. Welcome, Mr. Riley.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Nicely. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Stegall. I was out of town at the board's work session. She presented this policy. I know it was discussed in detail, the history behind it and things like that at that work session. And the board asked us to bring this back for consideration as an action item. So what I'd like to do is summarize the changes that this would make. We took the existing policy, and one thing we did update was the existing policy basically stated that the weight of a final examination would be designated by the teacher, but no more than the weight of a major test. So there was a wide range there. So in the effort to try and standardize that, we struck that. So basically that sets the weight of the final examination as the weight of a test grade in the fourth 9 weeks. So that's what that would be based on this new policy. Then we also changed the criteria for exemption. It used to be any student enrolled in a full year credit-bearing class could be exempt. The new policy as presented tonight would be 2 categories of students could qualify for exemption. First of all, students enrolled in a course with an SOL test that is required to be taken at the end of the course, either for verified credit or due to federal guidelines, could qualify for exemption, and seniors could qualify for exemption. So both of those groups of students would qualify to be exempt from examinations as long as they fulfilled the criteria for exemption, and that has remained unchanged. We left that the same in terms of what would qualify a student to be exempt from the final examination. So other than those 2 things, the policy remains the same. So those are the changes to the policy that staff is bringing forth to the board tonight.
Mr. Riley, is there any discussion? No. Madam Chair?
So, to be clear, Mr. Riley.
Yes, sir.
A student would not have to take an SOL. If they were taking an SOL exam that year, they do not have to take the final exam.
They would still have to qualify to be exempt. So they'd have to qualify for the exemption. They qualify to be exempt, but they'd still have to have an A or B in the class and maintain the attendance that they would need to.
Could they possibly have to take an SOL exam and a final exam in the same year?
Yes, as the policy's written.
And this is staff's recommendation, correct?
At this point, yes.
Can I just clarify if it's verified credit? So if you have an exam that you're taking, let's say in biology, and you also need to fill the verified credit for science, you would be exempt from the teacher's biology exam because you're taking the SOL.
Well, as the policy's written, you would still have to have an A or B in the class. Now, we could, again, bring the policy back, but as the policy's written, you would have to still have an A and B and meet attendance requirements. But those students would still qualify to be exempt from the exam.
Is there a motion to accept 801?
I'll make a motion to accept it as written.
Second.
Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Item point 0802, approval of delegate and alternate for the VSBA Delegate Assembly. I have spoken with Mr. Ray, and this is going to be his last rodeo this year, and I can't think of a better representation for our board than him. His many years of leadership in Roanoke County on the Board of Supervisors as well as school board, we're proud to nominate you for that if you'd be willing to accept.
I do, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
I'll second that nomination.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Abstain.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We also have to nominate a alternate. promotion for an alternate.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate the chairman for being an alternate, please.
Second?
Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll abstain. 8.03, approval of signatures in the absence of the superintendent. Dr. Nicely.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Local school boards may designate other personnel to sign or authorize Department of Education documents in the absence of the division of superintendent. The VDOE must be notified of such board action. The authorized signatures must be on file at VDOE before requests for reimbursement or other official actions that would normally require the division superintendent's signature can be processed. This is an annual action that the board needs to take. So I request that Dr. Jessica McClung and Dr. Rhonda Stegall be authorized to sign in the event of my absence.
Mr. Chairman, I approve item 8.03.
Second?
Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Item 8.04, new policy for curricular and non-curricular school and classroom displays. Dr. Nicely.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this was the item discussed at the July work sessions. We're bringing this back to the board for your further discussion and recommended action. The policies of Roanoke County School Board support the establishment and operation of schools focused on the educational goals and objectives of the school division, committed to the principles of non-discrimination, equal opportunities, tolerance, including for all protected classes of individuals as enumerated in state and federal law and school board policies. Roanoke County School Board strives to maintain a learning environment in which all students can reach their highest potential. The school board believes that this is best achieved in supportive and respectful environments in which teachers focus on the curriculum and learning objectives for their particular courses of study. Classroom decor and displays are intended to support the curriculum and learning objectives of Roanoke County Public Schools and contribute to a learning environment in which all students are valued and supported, regardless of their beliefs about political views, social political issues, religion, or other status as a member of any protected class of individuals as enumerated in law and school board policies. Staff recommends the adoption of policy 6.02.01 to further clarify for all employees the intention of the school board to maintain safe learning environments focused on the curriculum and learning objectives of Roanoke County Public Schools, and in which all students are valued and supported. We also recommend that policy 5.55, employee standards of conduct, be revised to reflect the language of the proposed policy 6.02.01 regarding the use of school board time, property, and resources.
Thank you, Dr. Nicely.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question I'd like to, and it does address that if a student had a question or wanting to ask the teacher a question about a certain situation as it may be, they're allowed to?
This is the student or the classroom. This is an employee policy, so this doesn't really affect students. This is what employees are allowed to display in the classroom.
But they are, even the employee is allowed to listen to the student if they brought up something.
Oh, we always encourage listening, absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
All right. More discussion?
Make a motion that we adopt 8.04.
I'll second.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Item 9.01, new VDOE model policies regarding transgender student support. Superintendent Nicely.
Mr. Chairman, this item is on our information agenda for this evening, so it does not require school board action this evening. But as you're aware, on July 19th, the Virginia Department of Education released the final version of its revision to the required model policies regarding transgender student support. These model policies are required by an act of the General Assembly and enacted into law under Virginia Code 22.123.3. These newly released model policies immediately replaced the previous VDOE policies released in 2021. We do have a few slides just kind of going through what the model policies from the Virginia Department of Education specify. I have the remote. Thank you, Mr. Lineberger. So just to kind of recap, in 2020, the General Assembly enacted this Code of Virginia section that required the Virginia Department of Education to develop model policies regarding the treatment of transgender students in public schools. It also required local school boards to adopt policies consistent with the model policies. So in 2021, the VDOE issued model policies. In 2022, the fall of last year, the VDOE drafted revised model policies, and then, as I indicated, these were finalized and released on July 19th for the 23 version. So this is the final version from the Department of Education. The key provisions of the new model policies are those: maintenance of a safe and supportive learning environment free from discrimination and harassment, prevention of and response to bullying and harassment.
We'll call order to this room. One more outburst and whoever will ask the police to have you removed.
It also indicates or includes maintenance of student records, identification of students, protection of student privacy and the confidentiality of sensitive information, and student participation in sex-specific school activities and athletics and use of school facilities. Just a few provisions under each of those. Maintenance of a safe and supportive environment. The school board prohibits all discrimination and complies with applicable laws. School personnel are trained annually on student health and wellness support. Counseling services are available to students, including gender support if parents are informed, and there is an exception in the Virginia Code if the student is in imminent risk of suicide related to parental abuse or neglect. Upon parent request, a gender support plan is jointly developed for transgender students. That is currently our practice in Roanoke County schools. Prevention of and response to bullying and harassment. And all of this are currently in our policy, but it's reiterated in this model policy. School division provides bullying prevention education as required by the Code of Virginia. Any incident or complaint of discrimination, harassment, or bullying is given prompt attention by administration. Bullying of any student cannot be tolerated and has consequences. School administration informs parents of any bullying incidents that involve their child within 24 hours of the allegation. And that is something that's new to the code and also is going to be reflected in our bullying policies as well as student code of conduct. Maintenance of student records. The key provision here is that school division changes the legal name or sex in a student or former student's official record only upon submission of certain legal documents. Those are enumerated in the model policy. Identification of students. Transgender students wishing to change his or her means of address is treated with respect, compassion, and dignity. School division personnel refers to students only by the official name. There are certain exceptions to that, with using pronouns corresponding to the student's biological sex unless the student's parent has otherwise instructed via gender support plan developed with the school. The model policy says in writing, our vehicle for that is the support plans that we currently have in place. Protection of student privacy and confidentiality of sensitive information. School division employees adhere to the legal standards of confidentiality that should usually outlined in FERPA. And then finally, student participation in sex-specific school activities and athletics and use of school facilities. And these are the main stipulations for any school program, events, or activity that are separated by sex. Student participation is determined by sex rather than gender or gender identity, except to the extent required by law. Students use bathrooms, locker rooms, and similar spaces that correspond to his or her biological sex, again, except to the extent that otherwise required by federal law. Single user bathrooms are made available to any student. For any athletic program separated by sex, student participation is determined by sex rather than gender or gender identity, except otherwise required by law. So in summary, state law does require that school boards adopt policies consistent with the VDOE model policies. And so with that revision on July 19th, these are the ones in place by the state. School board policy already prohibits discrimination and bullying against students. Procedures already established. Oh, wait.
Do we need to clear the room, or is that the last foul language that we're going to hear tonight? I think we just go ahead and clear the room so our superintendent can conduct business. Ask everybody to leave at this time.
Let's see, so we're summarizing the recommendation from the model policy. So our procedure that's already in place that has been established for the past couple of years requires parental involvement in decision-making through gender support plans. If the model policies are adopted as presented, the new policy will be policy 3.22 to provide direction on common topics regarding transgender students. And that was actually the end.
All right.
Happy to answer any questions you have.
Anybody have any questions?
No, and this is information, so it'll be presented for action at the next meeting.
Right.
All right. You want to give us your report?
I do. My notes are over there, though.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are, of course, busy preparing for a new school year and look forward to a great start. We have several staff members actually involved in a national safety conference this week, and so that, of course, remains one of our huge points of emphasis in terms of our security and safety for our schools, and so very grateful for Dr. Stegall's continued leadership in that area. We actually started a new training this week with our new teachers, and of course, we welcome back all of our teachers next week. With the big event next week, of course, is convocation on Thursday, next Thursday morning, and looking forward to that. I want to thank all of our teachers and staff. Getting ready for the new school year does require lots of effort, lots of work, lots of preparation. It was really exciting to see our new teachers doing the training. Last couple of days, we got a great new group coming in to join our staff of already committed and excellent teaching workforce that we have. Also thank all of our parents for all they do to get their students ready for those buses. I know what it's like to be, especially the parents of a new kindergarten students, and send them off to school for the first time, and so just excited for them. Just a reminder that our annual Load the Bus event is actually next weekend, August 3rd through the 5th at the area Walmart stores, and I know Mr. Lineberger would appreciate a big plug for that. That annual school supply drive for students is a huge piece of what all of our school systems in the area join together to do to help out families throughout the year. And that's always been really, really successful. I don't know how many tons of boxes Mr. Lineberger would know because he unloads a lot of them. And so it's quite an event, and of course all those go out to the schools to be distributed to students who need them. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Nicely. So we'll move on to reports and inquiries of board members. Mr. Ray, would you like to go first? Catch you right when you're about to drink a glass of water. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Oh, thank you. The convocation will be at the Civic Center, is it?
Yes, sir. We're last year we got back into the Performing Arts Center down there. So this is a tradition we started 5 years ago, and it's a great time to bring all of our staff together, the teachers. Unfortunately, we can't fit all of our staff. All of our faculties come together for that event. And of course, we have students out performing and greeting them, and it's just a time for celebration as we kick off the new school year.
It is a great event, and it's very exciting, and to show the team spirit from each school, it's really it really brings them together. Going back August the 1st, and then of course our students will be coming August the 9th, which we're looking forward to a new year, new things happening, new things going on. And, I really appreciate, even tonight, when people they have the right to come view their opinions, and that's what our democracy is about. But, you do it in a manner that is respectful. So I think we all would rather be in those type ways. We always want to hear from our citizens, whether you agree with us or not. You're not always going to agree with us, and that's what it's about. You make decisions, and you're not going to make everybody happy. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Mr. London?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just excited for the start of the school year. It's looking forward to the back-to-school nights next week, and just on tonight's event, I know one lady mentioned the last 6 words of the Pledge of Allegiance. I think the word just before that, indivisible, is also important, and I'm hopeful that that this divisiveness that we've seen can come together and try to not be so divisive, because nights like tonight are not good for anybody. They're not good for our school system. They're not good for our students. They're not good for the community. And I'm hopeful that we can find some common ground and some civility. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shawnee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may, I'd like to read a letter regarding the new model policy. It comes from the School Board Member Alliance of Virginia. I'm a founding member, and also I serve as a director on that board. This is the letter. As members of the School Board Member Alliance, a nonprofit organization providing school board governance training to members throughout Virginia, we are committed to promoting parental rights and ensuring that all students receive a quality education in a safe and fair environment. We are pleased to voice our support for Governor Glenn Youngkin's 2023 model policies on ensuring privacy, dignity, and respect for all students and parents in Virginia public schools, as they represent a significant step toward achieving these goals. At the heart of these policies is the recognition that parents play a crucial role in their child's education. By informing parents if their child is considering significant decisions, such as gender transitioning, these policies ensure that parents remain actively involved in their child's educational journey. We firmly believe that parents have the right to direct the upbringing and education of their children, and that they should be informed about matters that may impact their child's life and identity. Addressing the pressing issue of bullying and harassment in schools is paramount to creating a safe and supportive learning environment. Governor Youngkin's VDOE model policies advocate for the prevention and immediate response to any incidents of discrimination or harassment, sending a clear message that bullying of any student for any reason will not be tolerated. A safe school environment is crucial for students to thrive and succeed. We commend the emphasis on privacy and confidentiality in these policies. They affirm that sensitive information, including gender-related surveys or evaluations, should only be disclosed to the student, parents, and school personnel with a legitimate educational interest or when required by the law. This commitment to confidentiality ensures that students' rights and personal information are protected. Furthermore, the VDOE model policies address the important issue of student participation in sex-specific school activities and facilities. While adhering to federal law concerning transgender students' access to sex-segregated facilities, they also provide parents with the option to request alternative accommodations for their child to ensure their privacy and safety. This balanced approach respects the rights of all students. In the realm of athletics, the policies uphold the principle of determining appropriate participation based on sex rather than gender identity. By doing so, they strike a balance that ensures fairness and competitive integrity in sports. Governor Youngkin's VDOE model transgender policies are a positive step forward in Virginia's public schools. By upholding the rights of parents of minor children, promoting student safety, and fostering a supportive and fair environment, these policies empower schools to navigate gender ideology effectively while prioritizing the well-being of all students. They reflect a commitment to create a brighter future for all students. As members of SBMA, we believe in seizing this opportunity to build an educational landscape for Virginia that ensures every student feels valued, respected, and supported in their journey towards success. Signed, the School Board Member Alliance Board of Directors. Just like to add, some folks might not know this, but according to attorneys, school boards that do not adopt this policy and have something bad happen as a result do run the risk of being sued personally for gross negligence. I am proud that this board will adopt this policy seemingly without hesitation in the future. Moving on to other policies, with regards to the final assessments and exemptions for full year credit-bearing courses, I'd like to emphasize that staff supports this policy and that this is a step in the right direction towards bringing back expectations, which improves educational outcomes. We must strike a balance without over-testing our students, all while raising academic expectations. This board believes when you raise expectations, students will rise to meet them. When you lower expectations, you hurt students. As you may know, staff is currently working on a grading policy. Our CPS lacked some consistency within schools and across schools for years due to lack of a policy. The policy is still being developed with the help of staff, department heads, and teachers who all believe we can and must do better. I'm happy to see the momentum building, and I'm encouraged with what they have been developing. It's been fair, thoughtful, and a common sense policy. At this time, I'd like to encourage department heads and encourage our teachers to begin to think about implementing this new policy that'll roll out in the future. This will help staff answer questions, find solutions, and make adjustments. Staff does value teacher feedback. It helps us all to improve and be the best that we can be. I had some emails from stakeholders about folks that came to the podium a few months back or last month and voiced concerns. I responded to those emails, but I thought I'd take a moment to remind everyone of something very important. The First Amendment protects everyone's right to the freedom of speech. This podium is a public space for speech. However, just because the Constitution guarantees that right, doesn't mean one can say whatever they like without any consequences. In fact, it is illegal to make statements about someone known to be blatantly false. This act is referred to as slander. A person's opinion, however, is allowed. As a school board, we do our best to make sure citizens can continue to exercise their First Amendment rights while making it clear that slander is not acceptable. Please remember that opinions cannot be considered slander. Everyone has a right, whether you agree with them or not, to come to the podium in this public space and exercise their First Amendment rights. Next, I'd like to recognize and thank Jason Sheff and Alan Michelle Sheff of the Family Fund at the Community Foundation for Greater Buffalo, who made a generous donation of $100,000 to eliminate all of our accumulated student lunch debt. This grant allows our school system to start the upcoming academic year with a clean slate. I also want to remind folks who qualify for free and reduced lunch to look at our website so that they can fill out the appropriate applications. At one point, lunch was free over the pandemic, but now it's no longer. And we accumulated this debt, which is not uncommon for schools to do. And we, again, sincerely are grateful and appreciative of the $100,000 donation from the Alan and Michelle Sheff Family Foundation. What a wonderful foundation. I think they're going to be here in the future to accept our gratitude. I also want to thank Jamie Estrada, our new supervisor of nutrition. I've heard some great things from staff. I'm grateful for all that she's doing. Some may know this, but we're working, and they'll learn more about it at our next session. I requested that nutrition staff investigate the ability to implement a pilot program where we donate unused, untouched food this year to organizations like the Boys and Girls Club or local churches, so that we can teach our students responsibility about reducing waste by giving unused, donatable food items to others instead of tossing food, perfectly good food, into the trash bins. I look forward to hearing what they come up with. Lastly, summer is coming to a close, although it really doesn't feel like summer is coming to a close because it's really hot outside. I continue to hear from stakeholders that we go back to school too soon and that we have a lot of banked days, and I tend to agree with that. The calendar has shifted so far, in my opinion. Spring sports are still occurring into late May and early June with no student support because they're not in school, and the fields are just starting to look good. In addition, we dismissed from school with weather that is typically cold and rainy in May and June with cool mornings and cold water temperatures, only to return back to school when the costs of AC pumping into the buildings is actually pretty high. Doesn't make sense. So I'm asking Dr. Nicely for an official question survey to send out to folks and ask them some questions about when we start and finish our schools at about banked days. We shall see what the stakeholders think, and if you just want to note that you can't complain if you don't fill out the survey. Let your voice be heard. Go ahead. And lastly, I just want to say everyone have a great rest of the summer, a great school year. We're excited to get started, and thank you to all our staff and teachers who work hard to make this this school division the best and the best place to live and to work. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Vice Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Ms. Fasciani, I kind of agree with the days. I'd like to revisit that, but if I'm not mistaken, it was Mr. Linden and Ms. Fasciani that gave me a little bit of a hard time of giving that day back to the teachers last year. we had 5 days that we didn't use for snow, and I wanted to give them 1 day, and so, but I agree. I absolutely agree. If we've got these days and we're using less of them, let's find a way to, give these back or shorten the days or whatever. And I also agree to some degree, and Dr. Nice, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here, but I agree that we might look at shifting. I know we like getting out before May, but it just seems like, I don't know where the times went, but it seems like we went from 2.5 to 2 3/4 months down to 2 months for everyone in the summer. And I think they'd rather have August than June in a lot of cases. But I know that's I'm not suggesting let's reinvent the wheel tomorrow, but I think it is worth looking at some of this scheduling, and Mr. Riley, you're involved with that too. So the main thing out of tonight is, it's just like with society. We have got to tone or bring the rhetoric down. There were a lot of allegations thrown out tonight that I don't ascribe to and that I don't agree with. And I think, I know most of you would say the same thing. There are lots of allegations like, the teachers are leaving dissatisfied. We know that's not true through our survey that we send out. We know that teachers are coming back in droves because they're finding out in some cases the pay is not worth the change in environment, and they want to come back. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're close to fully staffed, if not fully staffed.
May I?
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
love to address that. So we are, in fact, fully staffed in our teaching positions. This is a phenomenon that's happening across Virginia as well as the whole country in terms of school divisions having trouble, finding their ranks. I'm not saying it's not a struggle. It certainly is. We used to have, plenty of, a very deep applicant pool for, lots of fields like, elementary education was usually not a problem, different, subject matters or subject areas, but that's certainly not the case anymore. But, I'm proud to say that we are our teaching positions filled. I think we may have had somebody just yesterday who was going to come in from Georgia to teach math someplace, maybe at the North Side Middle. We'll probably fill that one, so I don't want to overspeak. But we're actually going to include in our employee newsletter some information that I think people need to know. We actually have one of the highest retention rates in Virginia. In fact, last year we were invited to be a part of a panel conducted by University of Virginia and Department of Education, representing school divisions that have higher than typical success in terms of recruiting and retaining teachers. So our retention rate for this coming school year was right at 91%, which is very typical for what we've seen for a number of years. And again, we were asked to be a part of that panel because we were actually the only mid-sized school division in Virginia as of October last year that had 0 vacancies. So it's a bit of a myth floating around out there in terms of where folks leaving. People are actually thank work here and be part of what's going on in Roanoke County Schools.
Absolutely, thank you. There was also that we have a hostile work environment, and these are just allegations and they're not true. At least, every school I've been in, and I've been in most of them in the county now, and I'm going to say it whether they, some people don't like to hear me say it. We do appreciate our staff and teachers. We have the best staff in the state of Virginia, and speaking for Benton District, I am extremely proud of the group we have. Now, I don't get into the other schools quite as often, but, we've had a little bit of turnover this year, brought in some good people, and we are just, I can't say enough positive and good things about Roanoke County Schools. I hope you'll play that instead of, all the negative, because that's the truth. It is what it is. And, I'm going to probably dip my toes in something that goes back a little further too. I think all of us regret a little bit that we didn't say something about someone that presented at one of the meetings that said specifics about, folks at a school. And we probably got caught up in the moment and maybe didn't even realize it was coming. But, we do recognize that that was a mistake. Whether, if we come out and say it or not, we maybe don't say everything that you want to hear, but we recognize that. And I want to say, Mr. Hudson, that I think you've led us wonderfully, because this is probably more confusion and noise than we've had, Mr. Ray and I were talking about, than we've seen in our time on the board. So, and it's a tough situation, but I thought you handled it well, and I appreciate that you did that. To the notion that, some of these folks want to recall us, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a democracy item that is put in, and, you have the opportunity to remove us, and I'm okay with that. I've got 2 years left, and I'm done. Mr. Hudson has no one running against him. Mr. Ray's stepping down. You have the opportunity to vote in that district. So, there's opportunities here. Certainly recalling in the email, that doesn't bother me that you got our emails. The disagreements with the Board of Supervisors are well documented. I think I said everything in public, and if I didn't, bring them out, and that's fine. But in the end, we got the schools done, and for the Vinton District, for the Catawba District, and for Roanoke County Schools on BCAT, we got that done. So if that's anything you want to share, I'm fine with that. I don't care. Recall, that's fine too, because I think that's a part of democracy that I'm okay with. And if there's somebody better in the Vinton District that my constituents feel that way, I'm okay with that too. I want what's best for our schools in the Vinton District and Roanoke County overall. And so I'm proud to serve on this board. I'm proud, of even the board members I've served with that are no longer here. We had differences, and we have differences, believe it or not. But it's the way democracy was set, and I'm glad to be a part of that. And hopefully, we're moving schools forward. So thank you for the time, Mr. Chairman.
All right, well, first I'd like to start out by apologizing to our staff for having to be a privy to the nastiness over the last couple hours, especially the part at the end where people seem to get out of hand. For 22 years, I've been a law enforcement officer. That kind of behavior, I'm used to that, and I realize that not everybody in this room signed up to deal with that kind of behavior, so I apologize to those that had to be a privy to that. We love everybody. Besides the rhetoric that's going on here, they throw out the term Christian and you're this and you're that. Well, I know that my Bible says that I'm to love everyone because everyone's God's creation. I don't care what gender someone claims to be. We're going to give that child or staff member or anybody else the support that they need to be successful in Roanoke County schools. Every square inch of our buildings is a safe space, from 1 inch to the other, one side to the other, it doesn't matter. We treat all of our children equal, fairly, and give them everything possible for them to move on to the next level, whether that be in a technical field, college, or a job. I'm proud of our staff. I'm proud of everything that you have done, Dr. Nicely, in terms of working on this policy. I know it hasn't been easy. You've worked with your staff, and these things take away from our education piece, and sometimes I wonder how you guys are so successful at what you do, because all of these outside things that are being pushed into the schools, I want to blame a lot of that on the teacher loss that we do experience. And across the country, teachers didn't sign up for all this divisive things. They signed up to love children and provide an education for them. And, being accused and insults hurled and actions just like tonight, they didn't sign up for that. And I truly believe that our staff has a heart for what they do, and it's very apparent in the results that we get. We can disagree, but that doesn't mean we hate anybody. I truly believe that certain topics are a parent's responsibility. I don't believe that it's the right of the government or the school system to discuss these topics with folks, children. I believe that is up to the caregiver, the parent, guardian. As a school system, we teach every child to be respectful, to love one another, and to have empathy for all. That's how I teach my children, and that's the expectations of our staff. And unfortunately, things got a little out of hand tonight, and I hope that cool heads prevail, and we will move on. And I hope I'll reiterate what the vice chairman said here. I hope that the media in the back, that you will report positive things that we have done, and I'll give you one. And if somebody wants to come see me later or contact me tomorrow, I would be glad to take you out and show you what we did at Glenver Elementary School. We just created a complete playground for FACS program, correct, Dr. Nicely? These are kids with sensory issues and physical disabilities. And if you would have seen, and I can provide pictures of what this area looked like before, and these children are bussed in from all over the county for this. These are extremely disabled children, and they did not have a suitable area to actually go out and have a recess and play because of their disabilities. And we've fixed that. And it's a wonderful, beautiful thing that we have done for these children, and I can't wait to see the smiles on their face here in a couple of weeks when they get to see that for the first time. I think that these are the kinds of things all of us got involved in being on the board. It's not about divisiveness, politicalness, or any of this other stuff. So that being said.
Mr. Chairman, real quick, I just want to, I should have added this. The gentleman that gave us the cards, Muhammad, very respectful, and I will reach out to him. And we may not agree on certain things, but it's never hurts to have an open dialogue and conversation. And I appreciate the manner in which he came in and conducted himself. So I just wanted to say that thank you, and I'll reach out.
Thank you. All right. That being said, meeting adjourned.